any national championships, the stakes are high. The joy of Sarah Roy winning the Australian road race last year highlighted just how much the Australian road title means to our best.
I've never won the green and gold before, so yeah, super stoked.
This is an opportunity to forge your name into history with a prestigious list of winners.
She is going to win the Australian Road Race Championship. It was a target and she's hit the goal.
These emotions confirm that this is the biggest one-day race in Australian cycling.
I can't believe that this happened. It's a dream.
The theatre for it all, the surroundings of Ballarat and the town of Buninyong.
And now the celebrations get underway.
This is a brutal course. The 9 laps around Mount Buninyong producing no lucky winners.
One of the youngest in the race is now the Elite Women's Australian Road Champion.
So year after year, one thing remains the same. Winning the green and gold jersey is one of our most sought after prizes. Welcome to Buninyong and the Federation University Road National Championships. Hello and welcome to beautiful Buninyong for the Federation University AusCycling Road National Championships. This is the opportunity to be crowned the Australian champion and wear that green and gold jersey for the next 12 months. Matthew Keenan with you, joined by 2 people who have won here in Buninyong, Robbie McEwen and Bridie O'Donnell. Robbie, for you, I'm sure that this brings back some pretty fond memories, particularly from 2002.
Well, pleasure and pain, fond memories, but painful memories around this circuit. It is so very tough, but the reward is there, that green and gold jersey.
And, Bright, it is significant to win here. For the next 12 months, you get introduced at every race to the front of the peloton as the Aussie champion.
Yeah, it's a reminder of all the hard work, and you get pulled to the start of every start list, and you feel really proud to be wearing that green and gold.
We've had plenty of racing already. It kicked off on Wednesday with the individual time trials, the Race of Truth. And this was a chance to see some of our young rising stars. Carter Turnbull went back-to-back in the under-23 time trial. Anya Lowe, after so many second-place finishes to Sarah Gigante, she finally got the win. And then in the women's, Grace Brown started as the big pre-race favourite.
She certainly was the pre-race favourite, but put in a dominant performance to win by over a minute in a new team on a new bike, and so strong.
Well, Rowan Dennis in the elite men's, it was the traditional showdown between him and Luke Durbridge, but it was Rowan Dennis in the new team colours of Jumbo-Visma. He took the national title. He held off Durbridge by over a minute.
This race was scintillating. You can see Ruby Roseman-Gannon in her first pro contract for Bike Exchange. She's come second twice here before, but look at this powerful sprint and the emotions overwhelming her to take her first green and gold championship in the Criterium.
It was fantastic to see that raw emotion from Ruby and the big smile on her face, getting that jersey.
Well, a man in form who was a dark horse, not many speaking about him. He does it in the dirt most of the year, but Cam Ivory, he went from wheel to wheel following the attacks in the final couple of laps and blasted away to a solo victory up Sturt Street. And what an incredible performance from the elite mountain biker. And around Buninyong, he's also in with a good chance.
Even he was a little bit surprised. I'm sure there aren't too many people that can put their hands up and say that they picked Cameron Ivory to win. Yesterday it was the under-23 men's road race, and as is always the case, it was aggressive right from the start.
Always aggressive in the under-23 category, and unfortunately the race was marred by a crash through the finish chute. We're pleased to say that everybody is okay, but at the end of the day it was Blake Quick who was the quickest, and the Inform TMX Make team, they dominated the race. But a sprinter like Quick, he will be on the radar of the European teams. Versatility is everything. When you've got a fast finish, but you can survive a circuit like this, that points to a big future. Yeah, that will catch lots of people's attention because he is a really quick sprinter, and recently he won the Bay Cycling Classic. So to win around this course, that is a huge result. Bridie, this is a challenging course. There's been a few complaints from sprinters about it in the past, so that win from Blake Quick is big. Take us through it.
Well, the first part is, of course, Mount Buninyong, and it's in 2 sections, the long stretch up the highway and then the much steeper, shorter part, which is often really crowded and great atmosphere.
Well, as they come off the top of the hill, they descend towards Federation University, and through the grounds of the uni, lots of lefts and rights, a few little kickers, good place to attack and set yourself up for the finish. And this long finish straight, it's really deceiving. We've seen so many riders in the past hit out too early, get run down. Think last year, Kell O'Brien, Cam Meyer over the top. It's a tough finish to get right, even though it's straight.
Here are the favourites.
There's some great riders here today, but a lot of them without teammates. Brown, Lisa Jacob and Ruby Roseman Gannon don't have the same firepower that they might as professionals, and Neve Bradbury is definitely one to watch for Canyon SRAM.
Another one of those solo riders with a new team, with Team Confidence, is Rachel Nayland, but so much experience and a course that suits her. Anya Lowe, full of confidence after winning the time trial in the under-23s. Nicole Frame, she is out to prove herself on this tough course. Peter Mullins, she's been Australian champion before, and Josie Talbot is a woman in form.
Also the dark horse is former winner Ruth Corset, returned after a bit of a break from cycling, and an older rider but incredible and hard to beat.
Yeah, it is a really open field, so we've sent down a dual winner of this race in the past, Gracie Elvin, to have a chat to a few of the contenders.
Yeah, I think my greatest strength is probably my sprint, but I wouldn't call myself a pure sprinter, so I do like a few climbs, and Buninyong's definitely a challenging course, so I think depending on how it plays out, a sprinter can win on this course, and yeah, I'm really excited to see what we can do.
Yeah, it's going to be quite difficult this year. It's not only just that I'm on my own, but there's also not many World Tour riders in the bunch, so we can't really work together and formulate a combined plan. So really just have to race by instinct and yeah, go with my gut feel.
It's a super special day. I'm so happy to be back in racing in the Aussie summer. It's a very special race for me, but it's even more special day today because this is the first ever, as you said, the first ever woman to race in the Cofidis colours. So yeah, I'm flying the flag for the entire Cofidis team. It's a beautiful new project with the men's and women's team fully integrated together. So I'm really, really happy for this opportunity this year with Cofidis, and yeah, just thrilled to be racing here today. I'm in my element here in Buninyong.
Well, it is significant for Rachel Nayland and for the Cofidis team. That is a team that has been in existence since 1996. The gun being pulled by one of the significant members of the Ballarat City Council. Have done a wonderful job of hosting these national championships since 2002, with the exception of a 2-year stint across in Adelaide. A chance to take a look at what has happened in the race so far. They are now at just inside 60 kilometres remaining. But Robbie McEwen, the first time around that corner and taking a look at the Midland Highway, for those that are nervous, this won't help.
No, it makes you take a really deep breath and think about what's to come through the rest of the day. And it is such a tough circuit. And, you know, even though the adrenaline's flowing when you go off the start line, you need to pace yourself through the race.
His button is on. Well, the peloton are all still together very early on in the race, and Bridie, it's been a relatively calm start throughout the opening couple of laps, but there has been a fall already where we've seen a few riders that I was looking forward to seeing in action, unfortunately caught behind that fall, including one of our great Paralympians, Meg Lemon. She was caught behind the crash and she's now out of contention.
She'll be really disappointed to have been caught behind that crash. The challenge is, of course, that whilst everything stays together, it's still quite tense in those tricky elements through the Federation University. So if you are caught, or if you just have a small mishap, as we saw with the Sassy rider, it's very challenging to get back on. So what were 82 riders at the start line? 7 didn't start, so 82 starters. This group is now 55 riders strong, and there is a group of people in 1s and 2s who are trying to make their way back on, but I feel like they won't have that pace to be able to do it on their own.
And we heard from Ruby Roseman Gannon at the start about the fact that she's just got the one teammate there with her, and there are other squads with huge numbers. And you can see the white colours sitting there in second position. That's the Inform TMX make team. They'll be hoping to make sure that they're represented in anything early on. They've had great success in the junior categories, in the under-19s and the under-23s. And this is the first year for them having a women's team as well as a men's team. They've been a significant factor in the National Road Series for the last few years. This is the first chance to take a look at Mount Buninyong itself, and already in the earlier laps, riders being distanced as they make their way up the climb in one of the earlier attempts to go up the climb. After the first ascent of Mount Buninyong, it is points in the race for the McCain Queen of the Mountains classification. And so far in that competition, Justine Barrow from the Rock Salt Liv Shram team has been picking up plenty of points, and Bridie's, she's somebody who has performed well here in the past. She's been a silver medalist behind Amanda Spratt.
Yeah, really slightly built rider, perfect for the climb and that typical sort of acceleration that she can generate over the top part of the QOM. So Barrow's in good form. Of course, her teammate Peter Mullins is a former winner here as well. So Rock Salt are very well represented.
We pick it up live with just on 59 kilometres to go, and Robbie McEwen so far, no major breakaways. They've got 1 kilometre to go before they go through Buninyong, the township itself again. But this so often traditionally has been a race of attrition and elimination out the back.
The exact word that I had in my mind, attrition, and it is that back door is open. So riders who are maybe not as well suited to this course or their preparation hasn't been ideal, they're the ones being offloaded early in the race, as well as some of those with a bit of bad luck and early crash. Took out the likes of Gold Coaster Amy Cundy for one. So, really unfortunate on lap one of the race. But at the moment, the big favourites keeping the powder dry.
Does this play into the hands of Grace Brown without a teammate and Ruby Roseman Gannon, who's just got the one teammate?
The longer it stays compact like this and not very tactical with teams using their numbers, yes, it plays into the hands of Grace Brown. Certainly plays into the hands of Ruby Roseman Gannon with that really fast finish. We've seen that on display throughout the Bay Series criteriums earlier in the month and, of course, in the National Criterium title, which she won. So the longer it stays like this, the better it is for those sorts of riders. But riders with teams with lots of riders, they need to start playing their hand.
Who goes first, Bridie?
Well, Knights of Suburbia really have nothing to lose, and I know they've had a couple of riders who haven't been able to start due to COVID and travel and other challenges, but as you can see, they're going through now. They're averaging 20-minute laps, so they've been very constant. The race is happening where people are unable to maintain pace at the back. Alex Manley there, the teammate of Ruby Roseman Gannon, is just sitting nicely there in second position. She rode so well in the criterium on Friday night in support of Ruby.
Yeah, that's the thing in a race like this, to look at it, you think, well, it's all compact, it's all together, they're not really racing. But as Bridie just mentioned, 20-minute lap times, it's pretty fast. They're just riding a really strong tempo throughout the race, and it is never really letting up. So there's never those moments for someone just to slip away and open up a gap. So it's under pretty tight control.
The colours that you see at the front, the fluoro colours, that's the Cycling Development Foundation. That's a rebranding of the Veris team. They've been pretty active throughout the week at these national championships, looking to see if they can inspire a bit of a move as they head up the Midland Highway. The feed zone is at the midway point up this climb. Then once you get towards the top of the main highway, it's a left-hand turn onto Mount Buninyong, and there is a beautiful 200 metres where it goes ever so slightly downhill. And even those of us at recreational level enjoy that part.
Well, once you get through about half the race, that section no longer exists.
Oh, really? It gets
eliminated?
eliminated?
It tends to just disappear and all be uphill before you hit the 12 to 14% kicker right at the top. But as we mentioned, the pace being a constant, not really big changes in pace. The rider in the middle, in form, TMX make in the black and white colours, Matilda Reynolds, she'll be liking this and she'll be starting to fancy her chances of hanging in there and using her strong sprint.
There she is, the winner of back-to-back Melbourne to Warrnambool. More than 260 kilometres that race, so the distance won't be a problem for Matilda. Just behind her with the bright fluoro socks on, that is Emily Watts. Last year, Emily won the under-23 individual time trial. This year, she picked up the bronze medal. She's a really strong climber, Bridie, and this is the sort of course where I think she might be a little disappointed in that bronze from Wednesday. Not begrudging those that got the better of her, but it could be the inspiration for Sunday.
Yeah, it'll give her the hunger. We talked about her a lot last year in the Elite Under-23 women's race 12 months ago. So she'll be thinking about that. She'll be thinking about Wednesday. What impressed me as well in that image we just saw was Rachel Nayland looking very comfortable sitting at the front, but you can see the impact that's happening on these riders at the back who are just struggling to maintain position.
The blue colours, number 32, that's Alana Forster for Butterfields Racing, the good doctor who's been in great form for the last couple of years. It looks as if she's just a little bit off the benchmark that she set for herself in the past 18 months or so.
So many of these riders, of course, have careers, jobs, or are studying, etc., and they've had their seasons a bit disrupted, and we've seen a few riders not be able to start, but they're doing everything right in what will be a very warm day, so they're taking the drinks as they need them. SBS's Christophe Mallet just talking to the locals.
And that was the daughter with him of Florent Malazou, who helps to organise the Le Tour and used to work for ASO. And French mum and dad, child born in Australia,
Mum and Dad have got Australian residency, and the bub is now very much an Aussie, so welcome to Australia.
Well, welcome to the race for many now, because that is a strong acceleration as they've just cleared the feed zone up towards Mount Buninyong. And it is the Rock Salt team. That is the team of Peter Mullins. And it's not just all about the social media and creating content, it's creating pain and creating gaps.
And it is creating low cadence, and this rider on the front is renowned for it. This is Justine Barrow. She's leading the Queen of the Mountains classification, and she is the queen of the grind when she climbs.
Well, Jennifer Darmody, number 62, she's just feeling that pace, unable to keep, and you can see how strung out it is, Robbie, as they've attacked and increased that pace. Barrow is renowned for really stringing it out, and on a warm morning, makes it pretty challenging.
Yeah, Phoebe Thompson having a bit of trouble here at the back, along with Nicole Mitzageorgis of the cycling development team. Further back here, one of the riders from the Sydney Uni team, Jennifer Darmody, also being distanced.
And this is another group that is further back, riders that were caught behind some of the action earlier on throughout the race. It's a tough day, and for some of these riders, it will be a case of, let's see how far I go, come back next year and try and go one step better.
Well, a rider who's in that situation, I'm very keen to see how she's going to perform today, is Georgie Howe, former Australian rower. She's rowed at Princeton, works full-time for Ernst & Young, and has had a great performance in the time trial just a couple of days ago, was only a few seconds off the podium. So Howe's never done a road race in her life before, and this is her first one. She'll be riding very strongly.
Here's another one of the riders that's lost contact fairly early on, but we turn our attention back to the front of the main peloton. The former silver medalist, Justine Barrow, grinding a big gear at the front. And this is putting a lot of pressure. For the first time, we're seeing some genuine splits within the peloton.
Yeah, big group being distanced there. Almost half the peloton have been dropped off the back now under the impetus of Justine Barrow here on the front, and going on with it. Teammate in the wheel. They look prepared that they want to really start to split this race up.
And that's Nicole Frayne, who is in second position, and she is a contender. I'm really impressed with third place. That is Ruby Roseman Gannon, one of the pre-race favourites, winner of the Criterium. If you're winning the Criterium and you can climb this well, you've got some weapons to play with.
And right on her wheel was Ruth Corset, and of course close by Rachel Nayland. So all of those names and those contenders, people we felt would be grasping for the podium, they are all in that front section.
Yep, no big surprises yet, but this is the sort of effort that starts to really burn the legs and could later on hurt the chances of a rider like Ruby Roseman Gannon. The riders they fear in the sprint, they need to keep this up lap after lap and really burn the sprinters' legs.
People used to say that about you, Robbie, and try and get rid of you. It was difficult to do, though.
Yeah, well, when you bite in, you sink the teeth in and just sink your claws into the group to hang on in there on this climb. But it can happen so quickly as it kicks up. 300 metres to go. That's where it starts to get steeper, and it can happen so quickly. The gap over the top, it's really important to close it as quick as you can, because there's a very fast section after the top of the climb.
Significant gaps now opening up.
Matt, you spoke about Frayne. She's on the left of screen, the plait on her right shoulder behind her teammate there, Justine Barrow. She rode in Tibco last year. She rode the Paris-Roubaix in its inaugural race and was really sort of excited to head over to Europe and have that opportunity, and now changing teams domestically to this new Rock Salt team. It'll be interesting to see how she finds herself, because I don't think she was as happy with her time trial as her plans had really laid out for her over the summer.
No, but I'm pretty sure that number 2 was happy with her individual time trial. That's Amber Pate. That was a big performance for her, picking up the silver medal. 1 minute and 1 second of 4th place at the Olympic Games. That's a world-class performance.
Yeah, she should be really happy. Although there was that look on her face on the podium where she thought, I wanted to be one better, and that's good. That kind of hunger and disappointment that can come from a silver medal is a strong one.
More points for Justine Barrow in the race for the McCain Queen of the Mountains classification. She takes a look across the shoulder, and is that her easing off? Because it doesn't look like she's backing off too much now that she goes across the top.
No, just that little false flat section after the KOM. A lot of looking around, checking the damage behind, and the damage is significant. It's a really big gap back to the next chasers and the bigger group behind them. Reynolds, she's hung in there, so she's not been offloaded on this time up the climb. Good sign for her.
Before we got underway, you were posing the question, I wonder how Danielle Di Francesco is going to go. She's going okay, Robbie. She's in that group for ARA Pro Racing Sunshine Coast.
Yep, former elite triathlete, and she's turned her hand more seriously to cycling over the last couple of years and doing an extremely good job and improving every season. So I do expect big things of her.
Well, just 20 women in that front group now. It's done the damage, Barrow's attempts over the climb, and she's winning the QOM points as well. So that group working well together.
Michael Sherwell in this group being eliminated from contention. Number 13, that's Katie Banerjee. Number 8 at the back of the group is Ella Bloor. There's a lot of riders that are expected to be factors in the last couple of laps who now find themselves out of contact. And that's a stunning property in the background.
Yeah, it's a beautiful day to be seeing these aerial shots of Buninyong. We have incredible weather here, and it's going to be a fantastic afternoon. You talked about Ella Bloor, number 8. She's had a lot of teammates affected not only by crashes but by COVID interruptions. So Amber Pate and Matilda Reynolds are the only 2 riders left in Inform TMX Maker in that front section.
Pretty good 2 to have.
Yeah, they are definitely 2 good ones to have, and they would have been the 2 protected riders of the team. But as we've seen in the other road races through this weekend, Inform TMX Make have been one of the most aggressive teams. They've been really taking the bull by the horns in every race. But in this one, it looks like they might have to just take a different tactic to what they did, for instance, in the under-23 men's, where they just blew things apart. There is an attack now, and it is 53, Emily Herfoss. We talked about her earlier, really strong time trial. She's only around 12 months ago become a mum, got back into her training, and she is riding really, really well. And her first return back to the National Championships in quite a while.
Well, Reynolds there in the white jersey and the white helmet of Inform TMX Make, just getting onto the wheel of Herfoss. But this is as they're turning, they're going to take this left-hand turn. They're on Gear Avenue now, and they'll make that left-hand turn and go through the more technical aspects of Federation Uni. There's number 21, Rachel Nayland, looking very comfortable at the back. And number 36 there, Hannah Siegler from the Cycling Development Foundation.
Well, I like the tactics by Rock Salt. They lit it up on the climb. They used Justine Barrow, Nicole Frayne there in second wheel, but now the attack by Emily Herfoss. So trying to use their numbers now. We spoke about which team would finally start trying to open things up using their numbers. Rock Salt have been doing it, but now number 6, Matilda Reynolds. So after that time up the climb, she might have thought to herself, if this keeps up, it's not going to be a sprint. Get on the front foot and try and slip away.
Here are 2 chasers. At the front is one of the locals. This is Tilly Field. She doesn't have a lot of experience. She's only been racing for about 18 months. Sophia Malavecki is the rider who is with her in the green colours from Giant Racing Team. They're close to getting back on. They'd love a convoy, but the gap's not big enough for the convoy to go around them.
And when you can see them up the road like this, and because the front group are riding a little slower as they go up a hill, for those 2 riders, it just feels like it's just a few more pedal strokes away, but then the front group will have that acceleration of the descent.
Yeah. A rider who has won the Melbourne to Warrnambool back-to-back is a dangerous rider to let go with around about 55 kilometres still to race.
Well, always dangerous. You know, she's got the kilometres in the legs, so the distance is no problem. The climbing, maybe a little bit more. But Matilda Reynolds, certainly a very powerful rider. And look at the size of the group now. So teams that had a lot of riders at the start, there's only 3 teams there with more than 1 rider.
There's a little bit of indecision. There's a lot of looking around, trying to work out who will do the chasing.
Good to see Neve Bradbury in that group as well. She's in the all black for Canyon SRAM.
And that's in the favour of these 2, that nobody's really prepared to take up the chase. Looks like these 2 are going to ride their way back onto the group.
This is working out well for them. The little bit of indecision at the front. And this is good for the Rock Salt Liv SRAM team as well, because Lily Field, given that she was dropped the previous time up the climb, her role when she gets back, because it looks like she will, surely is to do a little bit of the chasing of Matilda Reynolds before they get to the climb the next time round.
I think it would have been a good thing for Reynolds if one of the riders from the Rock Salt team had gone with her.
Yeah.
And really then use their numbers effectively. They did the damage. They made the race up until this point, and Reynolds is now the one away. Rock Salt have just missed the jump there.
Could have gone looking for a strategic alliance within the peloton. It's always worth the conversation.
Exactly.
Here she is, Matilda Reynolds. She's done a lot of work with Specialised, including working with their e-bikes. She's got her own power. Matilda Reynolds off the front on her own. We have 51 kilometres remaining in the Elite Women's Road Race. This is a reaction now that is coming from Bike Exchange, Jaco. This is Alexandra Manley, who has got the responsibility of doing the chasing. They've only got 2 riders in the race. They're the biggest Australian team. They know they have to chase.
And they can't afford to just sacrifice one of their riders sitting on the front of that group and chasing, so you need to join the attack. You need to jump away exactly like Alex Manley has done.
Georgia Howe rowing her way across to the leaders as well.
Yeah, incredibly strong. She was nervous. I saw her this morning before the race and we had a conversation. She said, oh, I don't know how I'm going to climb on this course, but as we know and we've seen with Reynolds, it's actually about sustained power and pacing yourself, particularly until those second last climbs when we know a lot of the pencheurs will really be trying to make that climb as difficult as possible.
There's real opportunity within the university, Robbie. We saw, did you see Blake Quick yesterday? Some of his cornering through the corners. He was closing down 5-second gaps, and he wasn't attacking the breakaway. He was just putting his brakes in his back pocket, not using them at all.
Just railing the corners, criterium style. He won the Bay crits. He is a fantastic crit rider with that explosive power as well, then out of the corners. But holding speed through the corners saves you so much energy. It's a tricky time within this race, picking when is a good time to go on the attack and use some of that energy, because if you don't pull it off and get a really good gap and they tend to catch you down through the finish line right before the climb again, that could be race over depending on when the attacks come on the climb. So it's nervous moments picking your attack.
Well, this is not bad news for Matilda Reynolds. She looks as if she's about to be caught, but she's been caught by two very strong riders. It is Alexandra Manley going across, Georgia Howe, but a big reaction coming from the peloton. I said, good news, well, can I rephrase that? Mediocre news.
Not from Reynolds, but, you know, she'd be inspired by last year's winner, Roy, who's a stronger, taller rider who got away and had an amazing solo victory. And we've been talking about the incredible performance of the Austrian rider at Tokyo Olympics for solo victory. So everyone feels like they have that capacity now to take a bunch by surprise.
Strung out now, the main peloton. They're recognising the danger of the quality of the riders who are trying to go off the front. And if Alexandra Manley or Ruby Roseman Gannon go anywhere, expect a big response from any team with strong representation in the peloton, particularly Rock Salt.
Well, I expect it would be Rock Salt with the chase now from that main group, because they have missed the counter-attack as well. So they've now gone from front foot on the climb, making the acceleration, doing the damage, to really on the back foot and having to close a gap and, you know, use energy of one of their riders.
I like this aerial shot of the left and the right, and then the left back onto the main road down into Buninyong.
Just reminds me of Tim Rowe last year. He was set for a top 10, a really great result, and then dropped himself in that right-hand corner. So it is tricky through there. You've really got to have your wits about you. Luke Durbridge a few years ago fell and broke his collarbone. So through the university, lots of corners, opportunity to attack, close gaps, but also the danger of coming undone.
Okay, well, I like it from the comfortable seats.
I think you're right, Matt. It gives us a sense of how riders can use those corners to get away or to chase down someone who has taken advantage.
There's been some movement out in front. Matilda Reynolds from Inform TMX Make has tried to go off the front, but it's forced the reaction, and it's coming from Alex Manley and also Georgia Howe, two of the pre-race riders that we spoke about. In fact, all three of them were riders that we spoke about before the race got underway, and Manley at the front is driving it.
It's not just to shut down the move, but with only two riders in the race from the Bike Exchange Jayco team, well, they need to really make the use of every opportunity they get like this, not get out there and sit on, but force the hand of the other teams like Rock Salt, who've now missed this move.
Well, look, there's the Princeton rower on the front there, looking really impressive. And Knights of Suburbia, as we said, showed up to this race with a lot of starters. Emily Watts, Susie Wood, Georgie Howe, Kate Bangery, Lisa Jacob and Keely Bennett. And we talked about Lisa Jacob earlier. She got a podium finish in the time trial just 3 days ago. So they really wanted to put some pressure on this race, and they didn't want it to pan out for the World Tour riders.
but the World Tour rider in this group has responded pretty well. Alexandra Manley, she caught the attention of one of the spectators watching the live stream of the Criterium on Friday. Annette Edmondson, who won the Criterium the year before, she was expecting Ruby Roseman Gannon to win, and she gave her due credit for winning, but she was full of praise for the job that Alexandra Manley did as her teammate.
Yeah, they form a really good tandem, those two, Roseman Gannon and Alex Manley. And we saw the pre-race interview with Ruby, and she said we're going to just support each other as best we can and figure out the best way to win this race. And it could well be that Alex Manley is going to be the best chance. Ruby now has to try and mark the attacks or the counter-attacks coming from behind to back up Alex Manley's attack. Out the front, meanwhile, Manley will need to get rid of Reynolds, but maybe later in the race, try and use her up first to create a good gap.
4 laps remaining, 46 kilometres to go. It's Georgia Howe who is on the front, and she was outstanding in the individual time trial. She's only been racing bikes for 18 months. She finished in 4th position in the time trial, 1 minute and 16 seconds off the pace of the 4th place getter from the Olympic Games. That speaks volumes of her talent.
Yeah, it does. And she said, I'm not that great on the cornering. I need more work. And I said, well, I think you're doing pretty well for the amount of time you've been in the sport. And see, she's having a bit of a chat there to Reynolds, wanting to look across. This is not familiar territory for her, whereas Reynolds is very comfortable being in a break.
Well, talking of territory, there's a little bit of territory between this group and what's left of the peloton now. 22 seconds, the gap as they came through the finish line, and that gap is still growing, as we see now, out to 24 seconds. And they were led through by Tilly Field of the Rock Salt team, so they are trying to chase things down. They can see them just up ahead. That's the hard thing about being in a break on this circuit. You get onto this climb, they can see you even if you're 1.5 minutes in front.
And full credit to Tilly Field. She was the rider who was dropped the previous time up the climb. She chased to get back on, and now she's providing what support she can for a team. That's her number 52 that you saw momentarily off to the left-hand side. It's now Emily Watts with the distinctive fluoro socks at the front for the Knights of Suburbia team, a team that does a lot to raise awareness about having conversations around mental health. Our 3 leaders with an advantage of 22 seconds. And here is one of the riders from Knights of Suburbia, Georgia Howe. Manley taking a look across the shoulder. She doesn't need the stopwatch. She's got her eyes. She can see them in the not too distant distance, because they're 29 seconds on this climb. It's only a few hundred metres.
Yeah,
less.
30 seconds is a significant gap, and now we've seen Rock Salt try to close down the gap with a rider who was dropped before with Field. Now the ball goes in the court of the likes of Rachel Nayland and other good climbers, ones who know they need to make the difference on the climb. They've got to try and go across.
Surely this is good for the likes of Rachel Nayland. This is a launching pad for her to try and target on the climb.
Absolutely, and for Ruth Corset, and of course for Grace Brown. So those 3 can now wait to see how Rock Salt will chase. What's the form of Peter Mullins and Frayne?
Good launching pad, but you can't expect to launch too far across. So once that gap gets outside of 30-40 seconds, that is really difficult to cross.
Yeah.
So you're not just using the climb to get across to the front group, but you need to then do an extended time trial down through the university until you can really close it down. So they can't let this get out of hand. I think on this lap, someone needs to make a move to go across to the group, particularly because it contains Alex Manley.
Through the feed zone. Bit on ditch there by Matilda Reynolds. I'm fascinated looking at the pedalling style differences between Manley in the blue and purpley pink colours of Bike Exchange, who's got plenty of experience on the track, by comparison to Matilda Reynolds, who looks like she's kicking the bike up the Midland Highway, and the smooth pedalling style of Manley.
Yeah, well, a real time trial smooth pedalling style also of Georgie Howe, like a small gear, nice cadence, looking comfortable. Alex Manley, talking of comfortable, she looks like she's got things completely under control at the moment.
12 months ago, Matilda Reynolds was in a really good position in this race. Unfortunately, she had to abandon the race. Great to see her being able to bounce back from that.
Yeah, and you said that she's had an incredible and versatile performances over the last couple of years with crit wins, but also the Melbourne to Warrnambool, which, as anyone who's ever tried to start that race or even finished it, it's an arduous, exhausting. You're covered in dirt by the end, often from 280 kilometres of crosswinds. So very hardy rider with a lot of mental toughness.
And look back at the peloton to see who's doing the chasing. It's Justine Barrow on the front. I know that is a long-range aerial shot, but she's doing around about 30 revs per minute slower than everybody else. It has to be Justine Barrow.
And you can see the gap there, not quite right on the screen, because you can see those riders. There's 18 riders around 40 seconds or so behind the leading 3. So they've got them in their sights. But these 3 will take that left-hand turn, have that little flat area before the steep part of the climb. And Barrow will want to try and minimise that gap, see if she can get some points. But if she goes over the top 4th, she won't get any QM points on this lap.
19 riders, 18 riders in that chasing group when they went through to get 4 laps remaining. There'll be less when they go across the top of the climb, because once again it is Justine Barrow who is pouring on the pressure.
12 seconds now the gap, so Barrow's done a lot of good work.
As they make the left-hand turn, and Grace Brown is riding really smartly. She's towards the front, but we are yet to see her actually on the front. That's clever.
Well, further back, we can see the next chase group that came through the finish line 1 minute and 7 down on the lead of the race. And considering that Justine Barrow has set the pace up the climb again, I think we can just about count those riders out of contention for the national title. They were led through by Maeve Plouffe, the Australian track rider from the Aussie Olympic track team. Tough circuit this for anybody who's more of a sprinter, more of a track rider. It just finds you out. And for a sprinter to win on this course, you have got to be on your best day.
You do indeed. Good to see the rider in the white colours in this race. This is Amelia Watkinson. She was very good in the criterium. The distance won't be a problem for her. She knows how to go long range. She's been a place getter at the Cairns Ironman. She's won multiple half Ironman distances. She knows how to deal with a race that's around about 140 kilometres. This is just warming up for her.
And you could see, Matt, just as you were saying that, she was just moving her way into a bit of a better position on the climb, because even though this road is very wide, you want to be in a good spot. There's not a lot of wind yet, but she wants to be able to follow a wheel if there's an acceleration, because after the QOM, there's this sort of false flat as it winds its way around, and that's often when riders get away.
They're just about being caught. Justine Barrow still setting the tempo, followed by the very experienced Ruth Corset. One of her daughters was in action yesterday in the under-19 race.
She was very proud.
7th.
Yeah, Caitlin had a great race, and her other daughter, Stephanie, rode well last year as well. So incredible cycling in the Corset family. They were all living up in Townsville.
You know how when you play a sport with your parents, sometimes they let you win? Do you think Ruth is letting the kids win? I don't think Ruth is letting the kids win.
Imagine having Ruth as your mum.
It's pretty hard to beat mum.
It's like Jess Fox and her family DNA.
You've got to be the best in the world to be the best in your family. Reynolds, I should say, still at the front, followed then by Howe and Manley. Justine Barrow has just about reeled them back in.
And Barrow's teammate Frayne there with the white helmet just behind Ruby Roseman Gannon. She's looking pretty comfortable. Talbot as well, who had a great performance in the criterium on Friday night. She's still in this group.
The Rock Salt team have now shut this attack down. They can't afford to miss the next one. You can do it once, but you do the same thing twice. That could spell the end of your bid for victory. Now, they've used up Barrow in a way, but at least it was on the climb, riding her own pace. That's not too bad. So
here goes Grace Brown. Grace Brown now, and she's been followed by Ruby Roseman Gannon. Justine Barrow has done all the pacemaking up the climb. Grace Brown has been riding conservatively. We just spoke about the fact she's been near the front but not on the front. This is the first time she's putting some cards on the table. Roseman Gannon is in second spot. It's then Pate, followed by Corset, and the reaction coming from Barrow. She goes across the top in 5th position. This is causing a few problems. Yeah,
and you've even seen there Rachel Nayland just a little bit out of position as well, needing to move her way up. So strong riding by Ruby. She is absolutely following the wheel of Brown. And you can sense with Brown, she just wants to put people under pressure, but they only now have 3 times up the climb to go.
Let's get across to David McKenzie, who is on the climb.
Yes, I am on the climb. Well, I've got a 2-time winner with me, Gracie Alvin. They just passed us here, Gracie. It's a real race of attrition, isn't it?
Yeah, this race is always a race of attrition, especially in the women's race. We saw a breakaway of 3 riders. It was a really nice group with Alex Manley in there for Team Bike Exchange, Matilda Reynolds, and one of the Knights of Suburbia riders. They just got caught on this climb, and we saw Grace Brown, one of the pre-race favourites, making that move. She didn't quite attack, but she was telling the peloton, I'm ready for the next wave.
You're surprised? It's early days. They've got 3.5 laps still to go. It's still a lot of racing, isn't it, in the context of this course?
It is a lot of racing to go, but some of these key riders need to start making their moves now. They need to keep thinning out that group of about 20 or so riders. We can see the Rock Salt team putting a lot of pressure on as well.
Oh, it's heating up, guys. Back to you.
It is, and there is another move. She just mentioned Rock Salt, and here they go again. And this is the mum of one. This is Emily Herfoss. Her bub is almost 12 months of age. She picked up a top 5 finish in the individual time trial, and Gracie Alvin said she's got mum power. That's making her stronger. Well, she's got plenty of power.
Well, a great move, well timed, just making her way back on, and as everybody was just trying to catch their breath again, and Herfoss straight down the outside and off the front solo.
Well, what is noticeable, number 52, that is Tilly Field. The last time up the climb, when it was her teammate Justin Barrow really setting the tempo, she got dropped. This time around, Tilly Field has managed to stay in contact. So perhaps the overall pace on that occasion up the climb was just a fraction slower.
Also, there's Malawiki, Sophie Malawiki. You talked about her on Friday night during the criterium, and she's sitting there, number 43. Oh, just a little bit of movement there through the bunch and a bit of frustration. You can see that as riders slow up the pace and move to different parts of the road, if someone's not concentrating, there's an opportunity there for a crash.
This is a super performance by Emily Herfoss. She's won plenty throughout her career, but how big would it be to win this one? This would be the biggest win.
This would far and away be the biggest win for Emily Herfoss. A long way to go yet, and it's been an up and down year for the Herfoss family. Emily and Troy obviously welcoming their daughter, but Troy having a really nasty accident in the Australian Superbike Championship. Smashed his upper right arm, broke his leg, had some complications in recovery, really struggling still with those injuries. But the return to racing of Emily here in the National Championships, and a strong time trial.
Yeah, really good.
Not completely unexpected, but something to really give her some confidence, and she's showing that here in the road race. She is ready to go.
You spoke about the Corsets before, about being the best in the family. It's pretty hard to be the best in the Herfoss family as well. Husband Troy, one of the best superbike riders in the country, and Emily, certainly one of the best bike riders in the country. And they both do plenty of training on the bike together, and I reckon there might be a little bit of half-wheeling.
Well, their daughter is going to be an excellent cornerer. That's what we know. The technical ability of that kiddo with those two parents will be really impressive.
And now the look to the front of the peloton, and it's the colours of ARA Pro Racing Sunshine Coast going to the front. They have Daniela Di Francesco at the head of the peloton. Speaking of sporting versatility, she has represented Australia at World Championships in open water swimming, and she was an elite triathlete at World Championship level.
She was, and just like Emily Herfoss from the Gold Coast as well. Now it's, is that Reynolds herself gone to the front again now? So informed TMX make. They know they've still got numbers in this group, and they're going to use them, and they don't want to miss any opportunity. But again, when you're just chasing something on the front of the group, it's not as effective using your team numbers as just trying to attack and go across, be in the break.
Well, Rosamond Gannon and Brown there. There's Grace Brown, the number 1 bib on and newly crowned time trial champion just 3 days ago.
40 kilometres remaining, and a new team for her across to the French outfit FDJ. What she does like, amongst many other things, about riding for this team is, as the national time trial champion, when she pulls that skin suit on, there'll be no sponsors logos. That team always, since its inception, has really honoured any national champion.
Fabulous hedge work.
Oh, that's a lot of work, that
This
hedge.
looks like the Tour de France here in Buninyong.
It's one thing to maintain a swimming pool, particularly throughout the winter months in Victoria, but that hedge is impressive. I hope they get some help.
It is looking very lush here, and when we're at the start line before the race, beautiful morning, as we said, but incredible trees in that finishing straight. So it makes for a beautiful spectacle. Not that the riders are paying attention to that, but some smart parents as well. Very impressive.
It's starting to heat up here. A very sunny day down here in Ballarat, and it's turning into a very warm day later this afternoon, a top of 30 degrees. For the women, they started in fairly mild temperatures, around 20 degrees. Now it's 24, 25. So in terms of temperatures, they're not going to suffer with the heat of the day, but it's a beautiful, beautiful day for racing.
And barely a breath of wind.
Which is rare around here in Buninyong, especially when it gets hot. You often get those really blustery, gusty winds. And today is just an ideal summer's day.
Indeed it is, and Emily Herfoss is charging through Federation University. This is a mechanical problem. This is Georgia Howe, who we saw in the break just moments ago, and this is taking a little while to get rolling. Such disappointment.
Just an element of panic there too from Georgie Howe, just getting going. The chain was off and a bit jammed, and maybe that's just a sign of someone who, has not always been a cyclist. That little element of panic, just trying to get things going again. Lost some valuable time, and this will be a tough chase to get back on before the climb starts yet again.
Yeah, and even if she does get back on, survives this lap, she can pay the price on the final lap. It all adds up.
Yeah, and the nervous energy that comes from someone when you haven't raced as much, so then you're frustrated at yourself, you focus on that when you should just be focusing on getting back in contact.
28 seconds now the advantage for Emily Herfoss of the Rock Salt Liv Schramm team.
There is some cooperation here between Reynolds and Daniela De Francesco of the ARA team in the chase behind Emily Herfoss.
This is a look back at the problem. It's a dropped chain for Georgia Howe, and she just couldn't quite get it rectified. Tram quickly on the spot to assist with it.
She made a pretty decent effort trying to get it back on, reaching down, which is always a dangerous thing to do, but didn't quite get it flipped back on. Took a couple of attempts. She hasn't lost a whole lot of ground through that, so she should be able to ride her way back on, but no real convoy behind.
Jared Jones with the big push. Rob Eva riding the motorbike. Rob Eva, a former multiple Australian mountain bike champion, cross country and downhill.
Yeah, great to have SRAM neutral there to support the riders when those things happen.
And you just see that team car just moving around her as well, just to give her the benefit of the slipstream behind the car. And that's the done thing within cycling, and particularly when someone had a crash or a mechanical incident, you don't sort of create what they call the barrage and maintain that gap. You go around and try and let them ride back through the slipstream. More counter-attacks coming out of the group now. Rock Salt.
And this is a defensive move. This is Tilly Field, who is trying to counter-attack the counter-attack. She's looking to neutralise the moves to go across to her teammate, Emily Herfoss, who is off the front on her own, and she is responding to Matilda Reynolds.
Yeah, Reynolds again. So it looks like Reynolds, she's putting all her eggs in the basket of getting in the break or shutting the break down. She still has Amber Pate there in the main group. So maybe a case of Reynolds say, I'll give it everything I've got now, because she maybe doesn't rate a chance of surviving the climb the last couple of times.
I'm impressed with Tilly Field. She was dropped the previous time up the climb, and she's still doing everything she can for her teammates.
It shows that you can sometimes go through a bit of a bad patch or maybe be in a bad position for that climb, but if you have a drink, have a gel, relax, get back in contact, and then try whatever you can. But this is a nice little advantage for Herfoss, and she's using those corners to minimise the road she has to cover. So you could see her apexing across.
Now the challenge to find the rhythm and stick to it. Stay on top of the nutrition as well. She has 37 kilometres remaining. She knows the course well. She's been here plenty of times in the past.
There's a fair bit of upper body movement. It reminds me of her teammate, Peter Mullins, that sort of slight movement of the shoulders, but it's really powerful. And she's riding very well, and it's nice low at the front as well, so as aero as she can be to generate that amount of power through the hips.
Also turning over quite a big gear as well, and just really looking forward to that big, long downhill section, which brings them into Buninyong.
The return of Howe.
Well, it's worked out for it through the cars, a little bit of slipstream. Has cost her a little bit of energy, probably a whole lot of nervous energy as well, being in that situation, but she's back in the safety of the group.
And now to sit on, drink, have a bite to eat, and she has to be conservative the next time up the climb to recover from that chase.
Well, her teammates won't have known. The only other teammate she's got in this group is Emily Watts. She wouldn't necessarily have known that anything had gone wrong.
Well, that's Emily Watts at the front of the peloton. As Matilda Reynolds, she has got the psychological anchor of Tilly Field sitting behind her, and they're about to be caught by the peloton once again, which is good news for Emily Herfoss.
And what Emily Herfoss needs is a bit of indecision in the group about who's going to really take up the chase. There's been attack and counter-attack, trying to shut them all themselves down. And Herfoss needs them just to sit, look at each other for a few moments to give her a reasonable gap the next time she hits the climb. And maybe then we could see a real breakaway form, someone go across to Herfoss.
Looks like there's a lot happening that's going well in Queensland cycling at the moment, Robbie. Yesterday it was the Balmoral Cycling Club show, mixed in amongst the national championships. At one point there was a leading group of 5 with 4 riders from the one club.
Is this surprise on my face?
It's the glorious weather, the role models.
That was really good to see.
Yeah.
To see a group of young riders that have gone through the junior categories together, pushing each other and still going toe to toe. There are the 2 chasers. Matilda Reynolds taking a look across the shoulder. Tilly Field sitting behind her, playing the defensive mechanism for her teammate, Emily Herfoss. And here she is. She's under the Fed Uni banner. She'll come through this time and get 3 laps to go.
Well, I just noticed on the last shot, someone sitting there who has not used any unnecessary energy yet is Rachel Nayland, just cruising there, freewheeling down the hill, sitting in the wheels, waiting for her opportunity. And now with 35 kilometres to go, we're really getting to that point of the race. We're always told as amateurs, the final 30k. 30k to go, that's where the real race starts.
3 laps remaining. That white flag that you saw out, that was indicating an intermediate sprint, but there was no sprint contest at all. She's not worried about points for that prize. She's not worried about the Queen of the Mountains classification. She wants the green and gold jersey.
And Robbie, you were talking about that steady pace. It's pretty much been on the clock of 20 minutes for every lap. So 6 laps down, and we've seen the same, because of the hard pace over the climb, led by Barrow, teammate here of Herfoss. The bunch is not slowing down, so there's only probably an hour left of racing. Herfoss will be thinking about that in her mind, just getting into a rhythm up this first part of the climb.
The pace has been relentless all race, and what you do tend to see in those situations is very late on in the race, you might see a compact group like this, and suddenly it just completely explodes. And I'm expecting something similar today. The temperature's rising, and the course is starting to take its toll on the riders.
The 2 chasers have gone through, Matilda Reynolds and Tilly Field. They're at 27 seconds behind. It was then a 42-second gap between the leader on the road, Emily Herfoss, and the main peloton, which was led across by Emily Watts. It is Herfoss still off the front. Onto the climb for the 3rd last time. Looking forward to seeing when the move comes from the other big pre-race favourites that we've spoken about with World Tour teams. Rachel Nayland from Cofidis, Neve Bradbury of Canyon Tram. What move do we see from Ruby Rose Mangannon of Bike Exchange? Still a lot to race for at the National Championships.
It didn't feel like a lot of motivation in that group of 18. So as you said, Herfoss out the front, 27 seconds behind her are Tilly Field and Matilda Reynolds. And then a further 15 seconds later, Watts from Knights of Suburbia leading the group of 18. But they weren't chasing, they were holding pace, and you can imagine we'll see good rhythm at the front of that group over these climbs.
Here she is, Herfoss on her own through the feed zone, taking on a gel. It's hard to eat and climb.
Poured a bit of water over the legs there. Nice and spread out people in the feed zone. It can often be a bit crowded, but of course everyone's taking some distance from each other, being as safe as they can be.
See the barricades there using half the road as there's still traffic going back down the other way, making the journey particularly between Geelong and Ballarat. I find this part of the climb really difficult because it is, major roads are psychologically hard to climb on compared to a small road where you get a sense of at least making some progress because you're going past trees.
Yeah, I agree. Also, the fact that it's called highway makes you feel a bit overwhelmed. The Midland Highway, and you just look up and see, it feels like it goes on forever.
The speed limit's 80 and you're doing 8.
Yeah. She's in a good rhythm though.
The gap was 27 seconds back to the chasers when they went through the start-finish line. It's still Reynolds on the front doing the chasing.
That says to me a little bit of fatigue. If she's getting out of the saddle now on this less steep part of the climb.
Very different body language to 1 lap ago from Matilda Reynolds. So she's been out there using a lot of energy for a couple of laps now and trying to chase Emily Herfoss, who's been conservative with her energy. She's made 1 other attack, but it was quite a short one. She thought, okay, this is not the one, not yet. Let herself get soaked back up. She's tactically very astute, Emily Herfoss. And Reynolds, she's doing everything she can, knowing that she's still got Amber Pate behind in the group. And let's see what the gap is between the 2 chasers and the rest of the group and who's doing what this time. Well, not a lot. They're not strung up like they have been the last couple of laps, and that's always been under the impetus of the Rock Salt team. That's Rachel Nayland now at the front. She will be starting to get very concerned, as will Grace Brown. Ruby Rose McGannon, she's there on the back wheel of Brown, just off to the left-hand side.
Brown there, blue jersey, white sleeves and a black helmet. That's how you can tell what she looks like. Nayland's got the red stripe down the middle of her helmet. Rose McGannon, as you said, just really tightly holding that wheel, playing it safe.
Well, these World Tour pros, I think this will be the move that will now lure them out and really have to go this time. Nayland, Brown, Rose McGannon, Manley.
And Ruth Corset in the red colours, she is waiting to pounce. She is marking everything.
And Ruth Corset had a bike change. She's now on her daughter's bike.
This is a look back at the main peloton. They went through at 3 laps to go, being led by Emily Watts at 42 seconds behind the leader, Emily Herfoss. In the middle is Matilda Reynolds and Tilly Field. Tilly Field of the Rock Salt team, Emily Herfoss out in front from the Rock Salt team, and sitting patiently within this group, just waiting, is also Nicole Frayne from that team. She's in a great position. She has a teammate here with her, Justine Barrow. So that's the team with the numerical advantage. We can see the red colours of Ruth Corset. She's got all the experience, and she's been riding really well, marking the moves each time up the climb.
She always likes to ride at near the front. She wants to be able to cover things as soon as they go. She's not someone who tries to be cagey or sits at the back of a group.
Number 12, Georgia Howe. She returns after the small mechanical problem that she had. She's got a teammate, number 9, Emily Watts, just behind her.
I wonder if this is the calm before the storm, because this gap is really significant now out to Emily Herfoss. The likes of Brown, Nayland, Rose McGannon, and also Alex Manley, they should be getting nervous. If they're not, they should be.
And the big difference this time up the climb is the rider at the front in the middle of the road, number 54, Justine Barrow. On the previous ascents, she's been setting the tempo. Now she has 2 teammates out in front. She wants to set the tempo, a slow one. She wants the gap to grow.
So Daniela Di Francesco, number 22 on the right-hand side. These are our 2 chasers. Tilly Field, number 52. In front of her, Matilda Reynolds, number 6. And in the distance, there are the cars behind Emily Herfoss. And she is going further and further into the distance. It looks close on this section of the course.
500 metres to the top of the climb. Watts is the rider at the front on the right-hand side from Knights of Suburbia. Let's get across to David McKenzie on the climb.
I'll tell you what, we've got the best seat in the house, Matty. Gracie, what's unfolding now, we're seeing Emily Herfoss away on her own. It's a long way from home.
It really is. She's got just under 3 laps to go now, but she looks great. She was one of my dark horse picks for today. She's a mum. She's got a one-year-old daughter watching at home, and her husband Troy has always been a contender on this course, but she looks great. She's got some great backup from her Rock Salt teammates.
Let's just watch her. She's coming past us right now. You know these women better than most. How's she looking?
She looks really good. You can see she's really suffering, but she's giving it her all. She has to fully commit to this breakaway now. She's got some amazing riders chasing from behind. We can see Matilda Reynolds coming in with the chase and the bunch behind. I'm really impressed with the Knights of Suburbia team. They had one rider, Georgie Howe, in the break earlier in the race today, and they've got Emily Watts chasing from that main group behind.
There you go, guys. I'll tell you what, I'm happy I've got Gracie next to me. I might take a break.
Macca, she's underselling herself as well. I drove out to the start of the race with Gracie, and she didn't say that Emily Herfoss was a dark horse. She said that Emily Herfoss will shake up this race. She was spot on.
It's a great performance, and don't forget, she only attacked 1 lap ago, so she's put this impact into the group. Over that lap, she's in her mind, she'll be thinking only 2 more times up the climb.
What I liked that I was seeing from Emily Herfoss as she went past Dave McKenzie and Gracie, in the saddle, nice tempo, good cadence, didn't look like she was struggling, still looked really powerful, and with a really good, healthy gap. And back in this main group, a bit of pace setting now by Di Francesco, by the looks of it on the front from the ARA team. But all the other big favourites just sitting, biding their time.
And conversation at the back between the 2 riders from Bike Exchange. David McKenzie, the main peloton is about to come past you.
They sure are, Matt. Gracie, here they come. They're hugging the right side of the road. I just moved to Witch's Hat. What do you make of this so far? Because there's not really a strong team that can chase.
No, that's right. We're going to have to see some of the main favourites today come to the fore, and I think Grace Brown's looking really strong, but she's staying very patient. This group is going to have to start getting organised though, because having Emily Herforth up the road, she's super strong, looking great, and she's got a teammate in that chase behind with Matilda Reynolds. Tilly Field is also with the Rock Salt team, so they've got two up the front.
And I'll tell you what, guys, Ruby Roseman Gannon on the back, she looked very nice indeed to me.
Looks like Ruby's staying very patient. She can win from this group from a sprint finish, so she doesn't need to do too much, but I think she'll be definitely looking at Grace Brown in the last 2 laps.
As the peloton make their way across the top of the climb, let's also take a look at the move being made by Grace Brown, and she's got good company. Ruby Roseman Gannon is sticking with her. That's a strong duo.
That's a good surprise move by Grace Brown, right from the back of the group. It slid up the right, and Roseman Gannon did not miss a beat. She's had her eye on it the whole time.
Pate responding.
Yeah, you can see Pate on the left-hand side of the road. She's the one with the teammate Reynolds up the road as well, but she wanted to make contact with these two. But Brown just looks very controlled, very powerful, and strong and smart work by Roseman Gannon to be on her wheel.
These two know each other pretty well. They've done a lot of racing together at National Road Series level, lots of training in the northern suburbs of Melbourne, a good combination, and they're working together.
Although it was a good move, good surprise move, it's not that hard to cover because they didn't really make it on the climb. They made it after the top of the climb. If you feel like you're the strongest in this group, in this race, in this situation currently, you need to go on the climb. You need to go early on the climb because there's still a big gap to close, not just to these two, but to Herfoss in front. So if Grace Brown is that good, she needs to go on the hardest part of the course.
And that was Neve Bradbury in the black colours who responded and closed it down as well.
And I think they will, but they'll go on 2 laps to go, so there'll be more of a power put down with the 2 laps to go. The challenge will be, of course, though, they don't know how strong and motivated and you know, optimistic Herfoss is feeling, and they don't know how to measure Reynolds. She's immeasurable in her optimism and motivation.
How difficult is it for number 6, Matilda Reynolds, to be riding, chasing a rock salt rider out in front with a rock salt rider behind her trying to be the psychological anchor?
Yeah, it's something you've just got to put out of your mind, knowing that you're giving a free ride. You'd love them to help. You may even try the odd flick of the elbow and see if you can, you know, come on, you must feel bad about doing this to me.
And you never know. Sometimes you can overestimate that barnacle that's sitting on the wheel. Now Brown is accelerating again. She's looking around to see who goes with her, as is Roseman Gannon, and it's Pate again. So the 3 best riders are putting themselves in the best position. But I feel like these sort of testing moments for Brown aren't necessarily required. She's probably better off staying where she is on the flatter parts of the course. And as you said, Robbie, do the damage where it'll have the most impact.
Yeah, and it's got to be on the hardest part of the course. And I think now, if I was directing Ruby Roseman Gannon and Alexandra Manley, I would be getting a decision from them. Who's feeling the best? Who's going to do what for who? And I think at the moment, I'd be putting Alex Manley on the front, minimise the gap, let Grace Brown go on the attack, but have Ruby follow her, track her all the way, and try and win this race like that.
And let's not forget the under-23 title, which is also up for grabs. And there's a few riders eligible for that classification in the group. Number 9 is one of them. That's Emily Watts. Number 20, we've seen the black colours, Neve Bradbury. She's still in contact in this group. 36 from Cycling Development Foundation, Hannah Seliger. She's also in contact with this group. And Mia Haddon of Women's Racing Project. So there's quite a few there in contention for the under-23 title.
And finally, Sydney Uni Staminade have a rider as well, Alyssa Polites. So 5 women who are contesting the podium for under-23. And as we said, 18 women in that front group. So there's 21 women really in contention here now to think about the race. But only 28 kilometres to go. Some nice speed there being picked up by Herfoss. As we said, great skill in that family. She's a very smooth and strong rider.
Yep, getting up to 80 kilometres an hour on the dive down here to the university grounds, down to Federation Uni, that tight right-hander. And a number of little kicks. We've spoken about all the corners through the university grounds, but it's also pretty undulating, and there's 1 or 2 corners really kick steep up, and then a left-hander really take the momentum off you. So it's really hard work through the university section, but certainly one where you can open the gap even further.
We've spoken about Emily's husband, Troy, as Australian Superbike champion. I'm sure that he's done a fair bit of work on the bike handling skills with Emily. Her skills were already good, but having a guy like Troy assist you can take you to a whole new level.
Her skills were good before they met,
Yeah.
I can assure you. As a member of the Gold Coast Cycling Club, Emily has always raced the club criteriums and against the B grade and then the A grade men as she got stronger and more experience and more than holds her own. And even on a tricky circuit, no problems whatsoever. She's a very good bike handler.
She can poach a few seconds through the technical part on Federation Uni with that advantage.
Sometimes it's a disadvantage to be a World Tour rider here on your own because there is that pressure, and people have been talking up Brown because of her great performance on Wednesday, and people have been talking about the jersey, as you said. What will Française des Jeux Road Champions jersey look like if it's just green and gold? So even though she's a calm and considered person, she'd be there thinking, I really need to win this. So would Rachel Neylan. Neve would be thinking, what about if I took the jersey back over to Europe for Canyon SRAM?
It's hard through Federation University.
That's exactly one of the spots I was just talking about. It's those real kickers that really just sap your energy. You've really got to try and accelerate over the top of them. But at the same time, when you're in a break like this, you can't afford to really kick over them too hard. It does become more like a time trial and just daring the peloton to make the accelerations to come and get you.
And this is a reaction that is coming from Rachel Wales of ARA Pro Racing Sunshine Coast. Oh, no, it's Rachel Wales trying to hold on to the back of the group because there's a reaction at the front with 27 kilometres to go.
Well, you can see the speed has gone up because now they're in that single file position and riders trying to get into a good spot. Then there's a little slowing of the pace, a bit more freewheeling. So riders are trying to do the damage. We are now back on the Col de McEwen, his most favourite hill through the Federation University.
It was Grace Brown making that acceleration yet again and again, tracked by Ruby Rose McGann. So here goes Rachel Naylor now from Cofidis, left-hand side, up that little steep section into the left-hander. Well-chosen moment, Bradbury going with her.
Yeah, Bradbury wasn't marking that move. So far, Neve Bradbury has been conservative, marking the moves nicely, hasn't wasted any energy.
Even though there's plenty of riders willing to attack out of that main group, they're going further and further behind. It's attack, pause, and the net result is they're losing more time to Emily Herfoss, who just keeps churning away at the front.
Well, Tilly Field is losing a little bit of distance every time Matilda Reynolds takes a corner. So we were talking before about how it can be frustrating to have someone on your wheel. But I think at the moment, Reynolds is actually the stronger rider. So Field is doing everything she should be doing, being defensive, knowing her own teammate is leading the race. But I don't know, actually, if Matilda needs to worry too much about her.
No, she's got her covered in the corners. Reynolds, even the gap opens before the corner a little bit. So a little bit hesitant on the entry to the corner. But certainly for Fields, a nice free ride, riding the perfect team race at the moment. It's going to be super frustrating for Reynolds, even though she perfectly understands the situation.
I thought Tilly looked pretty good through that one. She rode into the wheel and didn't have to accelerate out of the corner. She handled that one pretty well. She is a local. She lives in Ballarat, so she's had plenty of practice through the course.
But they are not in sight at all for the chasing group of 18, with all of those contenders that we'd flagged as potential winners.
Another acceleration here. They're moving quickly here through the university campus. One long line, that chasing group. So the attacks continue, those accelerations, but out the front, this is just been going on for a couple of laps now. Just sitting, just ticking away like clockwork.
It's like an individual pursuit between Herfoss and Reynolds.
I can imagine behind those sunglasses is just eyes in a sort of trance.
Yeah.
Still looks very good and strong, but a bit more of that upper body movement than last lap. Understandable, of course. She's generating all of this power. She's got no protection.
The head is bobbing around ever so slightly. It's not like quite one of those figures that you see on the dashboard of some cars, but there's a little bit of movement.
No, it's her rhythm. She's rolling that big gear, using the body to sort of roll it over a little bit as well. It's just her typical style, and it is effective.
Still holding on to a 23-second advantage over the chase being led by Matilda Reynolds. Then at around about a minute back to the main peloton. Here's a bit of support from the team car. They had a good training camp just before Christmas. Unfortunately, one of the stars of the team, Peter Mullins, had a crash at that training camp, but she bounced back quickly. She skipped doing the Bay Cycling Classic and got a bronze medal on Friday in the criterium. no tempo at all. It's all gone off. The gas on, gas off effect.
All eyes on Grace Brown, the pre-race favourite from FDJ.
Well, a bit of pressure there with number 1 on your back. Other riders could rightly say this is your responsibility, but Rosamond Gannon's been really smart riding behind her, and Corset as well, just on the wheel.
And Rosamond Gannon and Manley having a good chat in the middle of the group. They're the two Bike Exchange Jayco riders. So just talking about how they're going to tackle this now. 25 kilometres to go, just a couple of laps out. And they've got to try and neutralise the rider off the front. Emily Herfoss is in a commanding position at the moment in relation to the main bunch, but the gap is getting smaller to the two chasers. But Herfoss has a teammate getting a free ride.
And with Reynolds having ridden this race many times, she knows that anything can happen. She's had some bad luck last year, but she also knows that riders can fatigue. Those who are out on their own kind of misjudge the timing, so she needs to hang in there.
It looked like she's making good progress. We could just see as she was heading through the kilometre marker, coming down to get 2 laps to go, the following vehicles behind Emily Herfoss are within her sights.
Well, that gap was only around 20 seconds, so Reynolds, I think, would be thinking, I've got to close this as quickly as possible, not have it drawn out, make the big effort, and then just try and hang on to any attack that comes from field, trying to take advantage of the situation she's been in.
If they do make contact, it will be up to Tilly Field to make the next move, or at least try and keep this group away. We can see the vehicles, the red car, the SRAM neutral surface, it is clearing that gap, so as there's no stepping stones. That has closed down significantly. This is a big ride by Matilda Reynolds, the winner of the Melbourne Warrnambool for the last couple of editions of that race. 2 laps remaining, 13 seconds the gap. Reynolds is closing it down.
Well, they've halved that gap over the last lap. It was 27 seconds at the end of lap 6. Now here they are approaching the end of lap 7. And she'll be feeling like it's absolutely possible to catch her.
And even the commissaires have taken themselves out of the gap, so there's no car between Emily Herfoss and Matilda Reynolds. And the official gap on the finish line, just 7 seconds.
I'm really liking this ride by Matilda Reynolds, just throwing it all out there. She's ridden an incredibly aggressive race and not looking at the likes of Brown, Rosamond Gannon, Manley, Nayland. She's going to ride her own race, and she's riding a race that is much like her personality, outlandish, extroverted, and she's riding a great race. And we know, we've spoken about her wins in the Melbourne to Warrnambool. She's got kilometres in her legs. She'll be feeling confident.
Now Tilly Field goes to the front. She sees her teammate about to be caught. This is right at the base of the climb. This is an intriguing move.
That looked like an attack at first from Field out of the saddle, giving it everything she had, but Reynolds straight in the wheel. Now checking back from Field to see that Herfoss is okay, and the shoulders there just rocking that little bit more.
Herfoss looks under some serious pressure. Tilly Field, does she need to keep Herfoss with her? So they've got the numbers because Herfoss is being distanced here.
Yeah, I wonder, mathematically, Rock Salt seem to be in a position of power, but in fact, I don't think either of them have the capability, and Reynolds is motivated. As you said last year, she had to pull out, couldn't complete the race. Now she looks hungry. She's had teammates in the men's team perform so well yesterday in the under-23 race.
1 minute and 20 seconds, the gap back to the main peloton. Nobody with enough teammates to do the chasing. Justine Barrow from Rock Salt with 2 teammates out in front. Number 54 leads them through the corner. Number 72, Ruth Corset, the elder statesman of the peloton, but she's got legs for climbing. This is a course that suits her.
Well, let's see this time on the climb our pre-race favourites from the World Tour teams, and move on the left-hand side.
Neve Bradbury it is who goes, and the reaction is coming from Emily Watts. These 2 riders are eligible for the under-23 classification, but that's not the one they're chasing. They want to win outright.
Well, there's only 2 laps to go. These riders, exactly to Gracie's point, they need to make a move now or the podium is already gone. Watts is now at the front. Bradbury looking around to see who would chase her acceleration. Not probably the best place to attack if you're a lighter, smaller rider. She probably needs to keep her powder dry till they get to that steep part of the climb over the QOM.
The rider in the pink colours, Alyssa Pilatus, who's just stepped up from the under-19s.
Or at least wait till the second part of this highway section. The first part is only gradual. Now we have another acceleration. This is Corset.
And she's not waiting. And Rachel Nayland, she is wise to the class of Ruth Corset. She is responding.
And this is where the gradient kicks up on this highway section of the climb. So this is the perfect time for the real climbers to come out of their shell and try and make a race of this. Otherwise, it could well slip away.
And remember, there's no advantage sitting on a wheel on a climb once it starts getting steep. So just biding your time is not going to be the way to win a race. And Corset knows that. She's got nothing to lose. Wearing the green and gold bands there of a previous winner.
Nayland, she goes over the top. Just increases the pace ever so slightly, but a quick look. Roseman Gannon just perched in the wheel.
She still looks like she's well on top of the cadence, Ruby Roseman Gannon. Behind her in the black is Neve Bradbury, who launched that first attack. A winner of the Zwift Academy 2 years ago now to get a contract with Canyon SRAM. 1 year contract, she proved herself. She's had a 2-year extension.
And then we talked about races with radios and the value they can add, and of course how challenging it can be if you're used to riding with radios and you don't have them today. So they wouldn't necessarily know yet that all three are back together. During the feed zone, the Bike Exchange would have someone there and would give them some intel.
This is Justine Barrow nearest the picture from the Rock Salt Liv SRAM team. She's got 2 teammates out in front, but it looked as if Emily Herfoss was feeling the pinch after being caught. Tilly Field it is who's on the front. Reynolds just behind her, who had done all the chasing, and Herfoss has been distanced.
Well, on the lower slopes of the climb, if I was from the Rock Salt team, I would have liked to have seen Field let Matilda Reynolds close the entire gap before going over the top. Try and hit her on the steeper part instead of she towed her across the last piece of the gap and on the easier part of the climb. And she might pay dearly for that. Reynolds still on board at the moment, although that style, it's starting to get a bit more rough and ready.
Well, after having been on a solo break, then in a break of 3, then being in the chase, Reynolds is really showing some great form today. Front there on the right-hand side of the screen, that's Rachel Nayland getting a drink.
And it wasn't that long ago that Tilly Field was actually dropped about 2 laps or 3 laps ago up the climb. She was distanced under the pressure of her own teammate, Justine Barrow. It's a big ride by Tilly Field.
It is a big ride, but that is also good news for Matilda Reynolds.
Yeah, it is. It's just Tilly Field's second participation in the National Championships. She actually hasn't been racing for all that long. She doesn't have much experience by comparison to Matilda Reynolds. A few riders who were dropped now returning at the back of the group. That is Hannah Silliger with the fluoro helmet on, who rejoins at the back of the group.
Good riding by the 2 riders from Sydney Uni Staminade, Alyssa Polites and Josie Talbot. We've all flagged Josie Talbot as a rider who we felt was capable of winning or getting on the podium today.
Tilly is on her own.
No, this is
No,
Herfoss.
this is Herfoss who's on her own. Well, she is on her own, but it's at the wrong end of the race. She's been on her own for a long time. She didn't have too much time in the slipstream. It was a brave move by Emily Herfoss.
And it's a bit demoralising, not only getting caught, but getting caught and dropped under the impetus of your own teammate.
Yeah.
And then you hope really that they can pull it off. But at the moment, Reynolds has answered every single question. She chased down Herfoss on her own. She's tracked the move of Field, and she is in a really strong position. And she's most definitely thinking about that green and gold jersey at the end of the day.
Well, the question now, of course, for these riders, most of whom are individuals, we've got Manley and Roseman Gannon who've got a teammate, but they should be talking. You can see Bradbury now, left-hand side of the screen, all black kit.
And Grace Brown, she's tracking her just out of shot. So Bradbury, been aggressive on this lap. Grace Brown, all of her attacks have been over the top of the climb, not actually on the climb. Will this be the time? Roseman Gannon, where else would she be but in the wheel of Grace Brown?
Then Pate, good riding by her.
That attack by Neve Bradbury was on the flat section after the left-hand turn off the highway onto Mount Buninyong. Now is when the gradient starts to pinch.
Yeah, they're just 100 or so metres away from that real kick up. And then the very steep pinch at the top. Grace Brown, a look over the shoulder, not a big acceleration. So they're all just content at the moment just to track each other. And I think they're really losing sight of the race in front.
Absolutely, Robbie. Frane's there, the teammates, of course, of Field. She's in about 7th position behind Barrow.
Let's get down to David McKenzie.
Oh, I tell you what, it's all heading up. Gracie, you couldn't pick this, could you? We were talking up Emily Herfoss last lap. Who is Tilly Field?
That's right, that's the beauty of cycling. There's always these up-and-comers that you just don't know that much about. She is a relative newcomer to the sport, but she's racing so well today. She's with the Rock Salt Liv SRAM team. She's been riding with Matilda Reynolds in this group to catch Emily, and they've distanced Emily as soon as they hit that climb.
Last lap, they look great. They're coming past us right now. Let's just watch them come past. Tilly Field on the front, Matilda Reynolds. What does their body language tell you?
Tilly Field is pushing a very big gear, but I think she's done a lot of Zwift, so I think she's used to that big kind of riding style. Matilda Reynolds looks great, but I think she's going to really suffer now coming into the last lap.
Well, Tilly Field, by the way, she smiled the last lap through. That, to me, was a sign she is cruising. Here comes Emily Herfoss. This has been a big effort, but it's not done yet for her, is it?
No, that's right. Anything can happen in the National Championships. It's not over to the finish line. Emily's going to do everything she can to get back to those two riders so they have the advantage.
And what about the bunch? We can see them guys coming now about 20 seconds down the road, it looks like. What do you make of this, Gracie? Again, it's all single riders mostly that have to do the chasing.
This is the penultimate climb. This is really important. My bet is it's Grace Brown attacking. I think I can just see we've got Rachel Nayland in there as well. A lot of strong riders, they have to make their move to get this gap closed down.
They certainly do, guys, and it looks now, here they come through. Grace Brown is in second wheel. Ruby Roseman Gannon looks good to me too, Gracie.
Ruby is looking great, and she's been glued to Grace Brown. They're the two favourites today, and Ruby won't go anywhere without her following Grace, so she's doing a great job.
She certainly is. Back to you guys.
And it's Ruth Corset who is forcing the split. Grace Brown has tried to respond. Ruth, you spoke about experience on this course, Bridie and Robbie, and attacking at the right time. She attacked on the steepest part of the climb.
She did, and that's in fact the exact part of the climb that she attacked in 2010 when she rode away solo to win the National Championships.
So just a small advantage for Ruth Corset. She hasn't been able to get a lot of distance, and there's still a real lack of cohesion within that peloton. Nobody prepared to do the chasing. And out in front, Reynolds and Field, they're in with a genuine chance inside the last 20 Ks.
Well, it looks like Corset has slipped away. I'm just trying to spot her if she's been taken back in the group or if she's indeed still off the front. And we spoke earlier about her having a bike change, and she's now on her daughter's bike. But interestingly, maximum gearing, 52.14, junior gears, because her daughter's an under 19.
Well, that's going to be challenging on the descents. She's
Exactly.
going to run out in the sprint.
And for the sprint, yeah,
there she
absolutely.
is. She's still on her own. She will be in her biggest gear on the bike at this point, and she will be pedaling big time out over 100 RPM surely.
Well, it's a very good move by her, like strong attack on the steepest part of the climb. And we've been waiting for Grace Brown to make a move like that. She tried to track Ruth Corset, couldn't close it down. The rest of them all look really evenly matched. Everybody at their maximum, but still a group of around a dozen to 15 riders came over the top together.
And without radios, they're not getting any time splits unless someone's yelling that out to them now. So now we're seeing a counter move, someone trying to chase down Ruth Corset. Roseman Gannon absolutely trying to get on that wheel as quickly as possible. Looks like Pate.
It is Amber Pate who's gone, and Roseman Gannon for the first time not following the wheel of Grace Brown. She's responded to this attack by Pate, so trying to form a counter move. They are edging closer to the lead of the race, and of course Ruth Corset, she's taken off. There's Grace Brown, number one, and so many eyes on it. Her jersey might as well have a target on it.
And Manly straight on through. They have to maintain the momentum because they continue to concede a bit of ground to the leaders. It's out to 1 minute and 5 seconds to the leading group of two, Matilda Reynolds and Tilly Field. There's Ruth Corset. She's been reeled back in.
Well, she'll be happy to have some company, and she'll be wanting, she's always the kind of rider that says, come on, let's work together now. The medals are up the road. So the race is getting away from this group, and they're going to not only need to increase their pace, but then to work together. They're going to have to come to an agreement, and that's always very challenging when you've got multiple World Tour and domestic team riders all wanting to ride for themselves.
Oh, all that group now melting back together through the left-hander. They've gone past the highest point of the course. They've got the descent to come down into the university grounds, and pace goes off again at the front of this group, and that is good news. The likes of Matilda Reynolds.
And Matt, you spoke earlier before about the fact that we have a combined elite and under 23 race. So there are riders here for whom they might have thought, yes, I want to win the overall, but really now, with only 1.5 laps to go, they'll be looking at each other, those under 23 riders. So Neve Bradbury is someone we've spoken about, Hannah Seeliger, those riders want to look at what each other is doing, and they'll be less concerned about the three up the road.
It's something else to think about. It's a plan B for them if they don't catch the leaders. And we look to see any of those riders who might have a teammate with them. And one of them, Emily Watt, she does. She's got Georgia Howe of Knights of Suburbia in the group. And Alyssa Politis also has Josie Talbot with her. Back with the two leaders. Reynolds is now getting some assistance from Tilly Field because they've caught Field's teammate, Emily Herfoss, who is stuck somewhere in the middle. There she is, still fighting. She's still in a bronze medal position.
Yeah, this has been a great ride by Herfoss, and she set up her teammate Field into a good position. Also, Justine Barrow is leading in the QOM classification. So Roxholt, Livsram are having a really strong day as this team.
There's the peloton breathing down the neck now of Emily Herfoss. We heard from David McKenzie, a former Australian national champion, and Gracie Alvin, a dual winner on this course in Buninyong, about the lack of racing experience for Tilly Field. She has an Instagram account, Tilly Rides or Bike Tilly or something along those lines, and she races cyclocross, she races mountain bike. She's a local from Ballarat. Sure, she hasn't done a lot of racing, but she can handle her bike.
She can handle her bike. She's in great physical form. Wave to the camera, pretty cool, calm and collected, Matilda Rose. What a wave to the camera. No, she's asking. Certainly she's not just waving to mum and dad.
She might have been waving to you, Robbie. I'm sure she's getting a time gap.
I want a time gap. I'd like to get some neutral service. I could use a drink or
a lie down.
Certainly after this race, she'll deserve one, whatever the result. But the experience, I think, of Matilda Reynolds makes her a definite favourite out of these two. And I think definitely Field would have to be able to drop Reynolds on the climb, but they look pretty evenly matched.
One more lap, one more time up the climb. An opportunity for Field to see if she can get rid of Reynolds and anybody from that main group if they can go across. Huge performance by the rider that we just saw on the screen, Emily Herfoss. These are other riders who were caught out early on. They're in with a contention at the very least to say, I finished the national championships.
And that is an achievement. This course is so brutal. It's beautiful conditions, but it's still very hot. You're really exposed. So even on a day when it's not windy, it is really hard for these riders.
Through that steep section in the university grounds. This is the chaser, Emily Herfoss, and she's now about to be caught by that chase group. Grace Brown again on the front, driving the pace, and she's seen this race get away from her.
There is Grace Brown, as Robbie mentioned. The rider in second spot in the white colours, Amber Pate. She is playing the decoy because her teammate, Matilda Reynolds, is out in front, in with a chance to win the national title.
Now, there'll be riders who might be a bit confused by this, and so they'll know, if they've been paying attention, they'll know there's still two up the road, but they may not know who they are.
Well, this has got to be the moment that Alex Manley says, OK, Ruby, it's one lap to go. Surely you can hang on. I've been watching you. You can follow everybody. We've got to do something about the lead of these two off the front. You can't sit there and talk about it all day, and I'm afraid even now they may have left it too late.
This is the part of the course where Manley can be of the most assistance to Ruby Roseman Gannon. This is where she can do some of the chasing and perhaps even just peel back 15 seconds of the advantage of the two leaders before they hit the climb.
The other rider who can assist with that, of course, is Georgie Howe. So we saw how strong she is. She's got a teammate here who could be in contention for the under-23 jersey, Emily Watts. So these teams who have a couple of people, they need to commit now and determine who they're riding for.
That is not what you want to see as team director of Inform TMX, mate. You've got Reynolds off the front. The acceleration came from Amber Pate herself. So you don't want a teammate increasing the pace. Sure, follow the attacks. Mark the likes of Grace Brown, anybody else. Don't make the accelerations yourself.
In fourth position in the white colours, that's Amelia Watkinson, the triathlete. She's been a winner of multiple half Ironman distance events. She was second at Ironman Cairns late last year. At the back of that group, Ruby Roseman Gannon, the winner of the Criterium on Friday. After the past 2 years being a silver medalist, the year before that, the bronze medalist. The impetus again going out of that group. These two are now figured out they can work really well together and they're in with a chance.
Yeah, and their hope would be building with every pedal stroke. This is some really strong riding by both Reynolds and Field. There'd be some confidence there. They're getting a time check as well.
Can't get the audio, and that mustache makes lip reading really difficult.
It's very selfish of him to grow that mo for us.
Well, it's from one Melbourne to Warrnambool winner driving the car to another one out on the bike, calling the shots and providing some encouragement. This is Alexandra Manley now, who has opened up a bit of a gap from the peloton. She's on the charge for Bike Exchange, Jayco.
Well, whether it's a move for herself to try and go across or just increase the pace, get this group going and narrow down the gap, so at least on the climb they can make some inroads. Again, Pate is the one chasing. She's the teammate of Matilda Reynolds. Then a teammate of Field. Number 48 is Nicole Frayne. So marking the moves, defending their two teammates. Manley pushing on with it. But it's very disjointed in this group. It's not a chase. Lots of one-out attacks.
And that ebb and flow of the pace actually really plays, of course, into the hands of Reynolds and Field. Brown there looking over her left shoulder, trying to determine who is going to attack and if they're going to assist.
The pace backs off ever so slightly once again. The gap down to 41 seconds. That is still closable on this final climb. Return to the leaders, Tilly Fields with the little shake of the legs.
Is there a rule in the team about which leg you wear the green sock and which leg you wear the right, or do they the red, or do they mix it up?
No, there is. It's the right for red. It is. Every one of them's got the red sock on the right. Matilda Reynolds, she's been a back-to-back winner of the Melbourne to Warrnambool. So too is Nathan Elliott, who's calling the shots for them in the team car, who we just saw having a chat to Matilda a couple of moments ago. 38 seconds the advantage. They come through this time to get the bell. They're not in a position where they can play cat and mouse.
Well, if you look at the rest of this National Championships, it really does make sense that an informed TMX make rider is in the box seat, from my point of view at least, in this race to win as well. They've been so dominant in just about every race that's been run this weekend, or all this week. About to get the bell lap, 1 lap to go of this circuit in Buninyong.
Neville gets his moment with the bell.
Lapping all day at around that 20-minute mark. Gonna have around 40 seconds lead. Tilly Field leads it through. Matilda Reynolds in second. All the race 4.
Tilly Field on the front. Matilda Reynolds in second position. 38 seconds is the gap. The peloton need to get themselves organised. Here comes the peloton through to get the bell. The gap for them, 32 seconds. It's Manley on the front doing the chasing.
They can close it. For the two in front, they are in a winning position. What they can't afford to do is start looking at each other, trying to save energy and think about their sprint already and who's going to win this race. They need to 100% commit to getting the win between the two of them and fight it out. Any hesitation, they'll be gobbled up.
Got to be the first time in the world that two women named Matilda are out and leading a race, and to be doing that at a national championships, amazing achievement for both these riders. But I agree, I think they're going to get caught. There'll be strong accelerations on the first part of the climb, there'll be more on the second part, and then it'll come into the finish, I think, with a small group.
And that's the other thing, that the gap is quite small. It's crossable for some of the strong climbers in this group. But who's going to blink first? Who's going to go early, wind the pace up?
Rachel Nayland is the answer.
That's
Ruth
her name.
Corset is the one who is following.
So Nayland, the first day, first race with Team Cofidis women's squad. She's the one lining up. Corset. Then it's Rosamond Gannon. Amber Pate, she's trying to close the gap. Grace Brown at the back of the line. Neve Bradbury in the all black there in the middle. So all coming back together.
They are. Nayland is continuing to force the issue, though, riding the big chain ring up the Midland Highway.
a look over the shoulder, but it really doesn't matter who's in the wheel now. It's not significantly easier being in the wheel. Yeah, you do have that carrot dangling, something to follow, but everybody is under pressure. Everybody putting out the same amount of watts.
Well, Justine Barrow and Frayne, her teammate, they're the two Rock Salt Livstram riders still remaining in this group, just behind the wheel of Pate in the white jersey for Inform. Brown at the back of that group, as you say, but now they're a group of 8 or 9, looking a little bit more comfortable.
And Amelia Watkinson on the inside, on the left in the white. She's been able to follow the wheel of Brown, and then a number of riders being distanced now on this final lap.
Of course it goes again. A lot of these smaller riders still use a bigger gear, and we've talked about how she's on junior gears at the moment. She needs to do the damage on her daughter's bike here to try and split up this group of 9.
Make the most of the climb. That's exactly what she is trying to do.
But Rosemond Gannon looking comfortable in second wheel, checks over the shoulder. Maybe looking for her teammate Manley, who is no longer in the group. Ruth Courtses, she continues that strong tempo, and they'll be able to see the leaders just in front of them on the climb.
Not too far away from making the left-hand turn off the Midland Highway. Still 2 riders in that group from the Rock Salt team. Emily Herfoss is holding on. She's surviving in that group.
Well, I think it's Frayne, Nicole Frayne there, number 48 with the plat down the right-hand side.
It is.
The
other one is Barrow.
But great riding by Amelia Watkinson in the white jersey, the triathlete, you know, because with changes of pace that we see in bike racing, it often is a disadvantage to be a triathlete because you're used to your own pace. You're not really going up into the red zone very often in a half Ironman. It's all just about eating, drinking, aerodynamics, and mental preparation.
Matilda Reynolds is going. This could be the winning move. She hasn't made the left-hand turn yet onto Mount Buninyong. She's still on Matilda. She's still on Midland Highway. She's about to turn left. She's making the most of this moment. She's on the small chain ring. She's on top of the gear. She's got a high cadence rolling.
Well, if she can hang on to this,
is off in the distance. Yep. She's gone.
She's felt the heat coming from that chasing group. And Matilda Reynolds, well, if she does in fact win this race, I'm sure she'll rename it the Matilda Highway. She's off flying, looking for the green and gold. A quick look over the shoulder as she makes the left turn.
Matilda Reynolds, she's launched the attack just as they turn left onto Mount Buninyong. She's had company with Tilly Field. She's now exposed Field, who looked a little bit vulnerable earlier on. And Matilda Reynolds, we know she's got the legs to go the distance. This is how she did it. She was behind Tilly Field. She saw the look down to the legs. Field has gone from the big chainring to the small chainring. She's trying to adjust the gears, and Matilda Reynolds pounces.
And Field just did not have that power to be able to hold the wheel, and it wasn't anything too devastating, but it just was enough to be a couple of kilometres now faster than Field. Reynolds looks very strong.
Yeah, just a slight acceleration, not a big blistering attack. Field, she followed it. She was just about half a bike length off, and that telltale, she looked over her shoulder. There was just no one behind. It's one of those things you can't help doing. You're being dropped in a situation like that. So Reynolds, she's on the loose and looking for the championship. There is the chasing group in the background. It's all so finely balanced at the moment, with still the steep part of the climb to come, and Reynolds on her own.
And she spent so much time already off the front.
Manley and Rosemond Gannon, you can see them, the bike exchange, that mauve helmet there at the front. On the right of Rosemond Gannon and left of screen, that's Rachel Nayland. We saw her driving the pace at the start of this last climb.
The gap is less than 30 seconds. Who takes up the chase from behind? The red colours on the right, Rachel Nayland. She's been a silver medalist here and at the World Championships. Rock Salt now with Justine Barrow going to the front. She's being followed by Grace Brown. Justine Barrow has been doing a lot of the pacemaking on the climb in the earlier laps. The last couple she's been sitting on because she's had teammates out in front. Now she has to take it up again.
She's setting the pace, and she's got Nicole Frayne was sitting there in about 4th position, and we've become accustomed to the little bit rough and ready style of Matilda Reynolds, but I tell you what, it is effective.
She's kicking and gouging her way to the top of Mount Buninyong.
What a week this has been for Inform TMX, mate. So she's really flying the flag. She's shown great strength. A lot of courage early on, and now she's just sticking in there for the final time up over the climb.
It's just 15 seconds. She looks across her shoulder. They are breathing down her neck, and it's Barrow who is leading the charge. Also there is one of her teammates, Nicole Frame, number 48, the black colours, Neve Bradbury, the elder stateswoman of the race in the red colours, that is Ruth Corsett. At the back, Watkinson in the white, the triathlete. Reynolds, she's been so brave, she's been caught. It's all up to this select group with the big pre-race favourites.
Reynolds caught and ejected, so doesn't look like she'll be able to hang on either. Corsett goes again on the right-hand side.
Frayne it is who tries to go with her. She is responding. So too is Roseman Gannon. The others are asking themselves questions. As Barrow looks across the shoulder, Brown is sticking there with her. Bradbury goes across.
Good riding by the under-23 rider there in all black. And you can see Barrow has been distanced. Brown now needs to do the work. She's got to chase across the black helmet there on left of screen, but she's looking fatigued.
This is Matilda Reynolds. She tried bravely. This is Emily Watts. She's one of the riders eligible for the under-23 classification. Manly is just in front of her from Bike Exchange Jayco. And now it's a chance for those who have been dropped. They can still get back into contention here.
10 riders together as they make the left turn at the top of the climb. So a group of 10 and then 2s and 3s behind them. A few single riders as well. Nobody able to make the gap over the top of the climb. It's Nicole Frayne, Neve Bradbury, Ruby Roseman Gannon, Ruth Corsett, Grace Brown.
Di Francesco at the back of the group
Still
for ARA.
there.
And Watkinson's still there as well. So some very famous riders who've podiumed in World Championship and World Tour races, and some women who haven't done a lot of road racing at all.
Nayland's still there as well, along with Watts. Watts is dropped over.
She's a chance to get back on, though.
It was Justine Barrow who was still there.
This is Nicole Frayne now, trying to make her move. Roseman Gannon is up to the task, followed then very closely by Neve Bradbury. Those two have raced each other a lot. Fourth position around the corner is Rachel Nayland in the new colours of her team for this year, Cofidis.
I've lost count of the number of times I've spotted Ruby Roseman Gannon riding in second wheel. She's been following moves. She's followed Grace Brown so many times. She now actually hits the front, so last lap now is trying to really keep things under control. She knows she's the favourite if this comes down to a sprint. Manly trying to make her way back because she will have a very, very important role to play for Roseman Gannon.
And Georgia Howe is the one who's with her, so she will work with Manly.
These two will work well together. They've both got a teammate up in the group, and they need to get back and make contact. Manly, we saw her leading out Roseman Gannon just 2 days ago in the Criterium, and she'll want to try to do the same if they can make contact again.
Inside the last 7.5 kilometres. A little bit of indecision at the front. Could be a chance for the chasers and an opportunity for Rachel Nayland. She knows she can't take it down to a sprint. She has to go solo.
We saw Pate there in the white now chasing, but she was looking around to try and get some company. Say, come on, let's work hard. We don't want Nayland to get away on her own. Nayland pushing a really, really big gear there. This is this false flat section over Gear Avenue before they take the descent.
Pate, she was phenomenal in the individual time trial, picking up the silver medal. Just 1 minute and 1 second behind fourth place from the Olympic Games, Grace Brown. That's a lot of horsepower to be chasing when you're Rachel Nayland out in front. You know it's Pate that's on the charge.
Yeah, and then over the top of Pate came Ruby Roseman Gannon herself, trying to close the gap, swinging into the left-hander. Still the small gap there for Rachel Nayland.
Well, Rachel not always known for really aggressive descending. She's had a few bad crashes on some steep descents.
Grace Brown on the left-hand side sees the opportunity, going across to Rachel Nayland.
And Pate knows that that is somebody to follow.
Pate has reacted to almost every attack put out so far. Straight past Rachel Nayland. Grace Brown also can't get the gap. Pate riding back into the slipstream.
Nayland caught. She's been reeled back in. A select group of contenders to be crowned Australian National Champion. It's not often you even get a group this big contesting a sprint finish.
Well, that little attack took a bit out of Nayland's legs. You can see she drifted backwards as those other riders were accelerating forward, so that could have been strategic, but she's still got a little bit of a gap there. She's sitting in 9th position.
And that is Alyssa Politis at the back from Sydney Uni Staminade. She's a pretty quick sprinter. She's got some experience on the track. Here comes Manly, number 18, and this is Howe, number 12.
Well, they're not giving up, are they? They can see that group in front.
Nayland again, the little uphill section before they hit the descent down towards Federation University. Grace Brown at the front. She takes a quick look to the side. Nobody else following the move. Rachel Nayland, she will not give up attacking all the way in. She knows she can't rely on a sprint to get the green and gold. She's got to do it like this.
Well, of course, it's a rider we know who's got an amazing sprint. For a small climber, she's got a lot of power, but she could be a little bit limited by her gear options coming to the finish. Ruby Roseman Gannon, we know, is a devastating sprinter, really powerful, was great uphill on Friday night, and of course, very impressive to take away the Bay Criterium Series 1 week ago.
And she hasn't lost a sprint in 2022. And even before that, in December, she won, I believe, all 4 stages at the Sunshine Coast Tour in the NRS race.
She did.
So she's been unbeaten in her last 9 races or so, something like that.
Winning is a habit. Nayland, once again, she tries her luck off the front. Coming down to the sharp right-hand turn to go into Fed Uni.
The other riders using each other's slipstream up and over the top and just easily closing that gap as they come down into the fast right-hander. And then we've got these couple of little kicks. Good opportunity here through the University. We've spoken about those steep pinches. Late attack to try and get a gap.
Of course, it has been caught on that corner.
Well, Grace Brown's shown herself to be strong today, but not with enough change of pace to get herself away. So either she hasn't been giving 100% in these attacks, or this is all she has today.
Amelia Watkinson in the white colours, moving her stuff up around the outside. The pink at the bottom of the picture, one of the youngsters in the race, Alyssa Polides.
This is good for Howe and Manly. Switching off at the front now. This will enable them to come back. Could it enable them to attack over the top and spring a surprise from dropped to in front?
Hey, it's happened before. That's how Miles Scottson won the national championships. There she is, number 60, just up from the under-19s. This is her first year in the senior ranks.
Here's the moment, if you're coming from the back, run into the slipstream on the downhill, hit them on the little steep pinch and up and through the corner.
Number 22
They're not there yet.
Is Daniela Di Francesco. Represented Australia in long distance ocean, open water swimming, likewise in triathlon. The motorbike is backing off. I think that they know there's a couple still coming.
They really won't be far behind that duo of Howe and Manly. Ruby Roseman Gannon, she's looking, there they are. So Manly now, important role to play, and is it one of attacking and make the others chase her, or simply control things and do the lead out for Ruby Roseman Gannon?
And you can see the 2 riders on the back left, number 60 and number 20. They are both contesting the under-23 medal, and so they are not letting each other out their sights. They want to see if they can get a gold overall in their classification and maybe win the race as well.
Howe, number 12 at the back from Knights of Suburbia, perhaps just a little bit of distance, recuperate. You don't need to know that I'm here yet. And I'll try and catch you by surprise.
And Alex Manley, recover in the wheels for a little bit, keep an eye on everything, and then take herself back to what she did on Friday night for Ruby Roseman Gannon. Control things, do the lead out, make sure Ruby can use her sprint and try and take the champion's jersey.
The rock salt colours once again at the front. Justine Barrow from that team. She's been a silver medalist here behind Amanda Spratt. They also have Nicole Frayne in the group from that team. The team that has been super aggressive throughout the race.
Well, Howe's ridden so well today. We're seeing her at the back here. That's Frayne now from Rock Salt Live SRAM. Just trying her best. She had, as we said, a season last year riding with Tibco, so racing in Europe and the United States. She was in Sydney Uni Staminade last year, so she's made the move to this new team, domestic team, and riding with some confidence.
Good, strong attack by Nicole Frayne, also knowing the sprint powers of others in this group, that's not the way she's going to win. And she's chosen a moment well through the university campus, using the lefts and rights, and the gap still opening up. And this is the point where others start to think about their own result, their own sprint, saving the legs a little bit. Nicole Frayne has made a great move.
And it's a peloton full of riders without teammates.
Except for Ruby Roseman Gannon with Alexandra Manley.
Kept talking about how she's riding at the back there, the fluoro socks, number 12. Remember, she's a rower, comes from a long history in women's cycling of talent transfer. We saw that with Amy Gillett, with incredible Amber Halliday, an amazing world-class lightweight rower, performed incredibly well and won the time trial here in 2010. So a lot of talent transfer has come into women's cycling.
Oh, there's talent off the front. Inside the last 3 kilometres, Frayne is opening up a gap. It's out to more than 8 seconds, and Nayland recognises the danger. Followed by Pate, then Manley, It's Bradbury in the black colours, Watkinson in white, followed by Corset in the red and yellow.
Well, Nayland, she keeps up the pressure on the pedals out of that corner. There is the gap to Nicole Frayne. Well, she wouldn't be happy about a non-sprinter chasing her down and giving almost a free lead out to the likes of Rosemond Gannon and others. And Alexandra Manley, she'll be poised, waiting for her moment. She knows exactly what she needs to do.
Into time trial beast mode now for Nicole Frayne.
Yeah, she's giving it everything, isn't she? Tucking that head down whenever she can, trying to be as aerodynamic as possible, really getting the speed up before they make that descent into the finish line.
Tasmanian is doing a sensational job. She's got an advantage of just 8 seconds over the chasing peloton. 2 very long, lonely kilometres, but they could be the most significant of her career.
2 kilometres to go, plenty of it downhill, a very fast approach. Manley now on the front, but she swings across and looks to Amber Pate. This could be a great moment for Nicole Frayne because everybody knows the sprint prowess of Ruby Rosemond Gannon. They're going to leave it to Alexandra Manley to clean it up.
This is such an impressive attack by her. The timing was great, and obviously she's had the legs because she's stayed in that front group, and we haven't spoken about her for the first 80 kilometres of the race.
It's now Pate on the front, Manley going through to take up the chase.
She finally reached that moment of panic, knowing this is it, I've got to go everything now or this race has gotten away from her. So Alexandra Manley, this needs to be an effort all the way down, and it'll still be a very close run thing to catch Nicole Frayne because it's one-on-one.
And she's followed by Pate. It's then Watkinson. 4th position with the red colours is Corset. Pate going through to the front.
It's now 2-on-1. Pate goes through, but immediately swings across and stops pedalling.
Yeah, that's a strange move. I don't know why she would be blocking. It's not her own teammate up the road.
Here goes Howe. She was the last to rejoin, along with Manley. Ruby Rosemond Gannon is sticking with her, though, and she'll be just encouraging her to keep on going. It's then Pate in 3rd spot. Corset in the tuck. She's riding junior gears on a bike that she's borrowed from her daughter. Di Francesco now slots up in a 4th position, but it's still Nicole Frayne taking it to them.
Ruby Rosemond Gannon, she's poised in 2nd, but this gap is big. Frayne is on her way to victory. She looks over, she sees the gap is big. Rosemond Gannon's got to throw caution to the wind, give it everything. I think it's too late.
She's got the timing right. What a bold move it was from Nicole Frayne. The sprint is on behind. Manley with the lead out. She's followed by pre-race favourite Ruby Rosemond Gannon. Pate is still in the mix. That's a battle for the medals, though. It's time to celebrate. Fantastic Frayne has her moment of fame. She is the Australian champion. And in the race for 2nd, Grace Brown managed to get there. Followed then by Alyssa Polides. She gets bronze and she gets gold because she's the Australian under-23 champion.
Looks like Rosemond Gannon ran out of legs. She came across the line in 4th, but what a move by the rock salt Liv Schramm rider Nicole Frayne, the Tasmanian, threw caution to the wind, and Rachel Nayland, she just wants to congratulate someone who had the guts to go on the attack and pulled off that late move.
Let's get down to David McKenzie, who's with the winner.
Wow, Nicole Frayne, you just took out the National Championships for 2022. How are you feeling?
I don't have any words. I'm so happy.
Your team, Rock Salt Liv Schramm, did an amazing job today with Emily Herfloss up the road. What was your team plan going into this race?
It was for Emily and I. We were trying to go for it, and then Justine obviously made it really hard up the climb, which riders like Emily and I need that. And we just did such a good job. I'm so happy with us.
And how about Tilly Field? She was also in the breakaway today with Matilda Reynolds. She had an exceptional ride. She's quite a newcomer to the sport. What did you think about her today?
Tilly had a flyer. She did so well. She hasn't been riding for very long, so that's so promising for her. Yeah.
That's brilliant today. Well done to you.
Thank you.
There's a few elements of that interview that I love. David McKenzie made the decision, hey, Gracie, you've won this twice. You interview her. That was a good move by Macca. And Gracie getting interview the winner. The key line that I liked from that was when Nicole said, that was great from us.
incredible team performance, and she listed that. Look at her driving her way, looking around, can't believe it. You know, the move in the final lap when everything had seemed to be going in another direction, perhaps first for Herfoss, then for Field. Barrow will take out the QOM. What a beautiful image that will be for her.
And the sprint for the minor places, Robbie, they got the timing wrong.
They did get the timing wrong to try and catch Frayne. Ruby Roseman Gannon, she tried to go long and see if she could get there, make the impossible possible, but she got run down by the others, missed out on the medals. Nicole Frayne, she just still had enough of a gap, take a quick look behind and then throw the arms up in victory. A brilliant ride, a brilliant individual ride on the back of a brilliant team ride. They were in everything all day. It looked shaky a couple of times, but they had the numbers and they had the talent to pull it off.
Justine Barrow controlled the climb up Mount Buninyong multiple times, particularly early. We saw the big move by Emily Herfoss. Tilly Field marked Matilda Reynolds. They were, as you said, literally in everything, and they won.
Well, we talked a lot about the possibility to get away through the Federation University grounds, those little steep pinches, all those corners. That's exactly where Nicole Frayne went. She knew she couldn't back herself in the sprint for their team to win. This is how it had to happen from one of them. Her timing was perfect, but then the power to pull it off and hold off the chase group. Everything worked in her favour. A very deserved national champion.
And in the race for the under-23 title, Alyssa Polides, as I mentioned before, crossed the line in third. She gets a bronze and a gold medal. Bronze in the elite race. She was the first of the under-23s. It was then Neve Bradbury, who was the second of the under-23s. She gets the silver medal. And Emily Watts, just as she did in the time trial, she gets the bronze medal for the under-23s. Special mention for Matilda Reynolds. She went across the line in 13th position, and Emily Herfoss, Tilly Field, they came across together a little bit further back, but they'll be celebrating tonight with the new Australian champion.
And a great result for Georgie Howe from Knights of Suburbia, 12th position, but incredible performance in her first national championships. The former Australian rower, or current Australian rower, Olympian, Princeton University graduate, just shows you that the ability, that the tenacity, the fitness, the strength and motivation, and the support of that terrific team, as you said, Matt. Great community there.
And Robbie, Grace Brown in second position. Fantastic start to the season, winning the time trial, second here in the road race. So there's a lot to like, but there's a little bit to be frustrated about.
She'll be a little bit frustrated, but always going to be tough on her own. No team support, trying to keep everything under control and literally riding with the target on her back all day long. Everybody followed, particularly Ruby Roseman Gannon just stayed in the wheel of brown so often. So she needed a little bit of luck to get the job done here in the road race. So second was a great ride by Grace Brown. But, of course, you always want more, but at least she's going back to Europe with one Aussie champ jersey.
She didn't celebrate too early, did she? She waited until about the last 2 metres before she got the arms up. That was a good decision by Nicole Frayne.
9 riders took the start line for Rock Salt Livstram. It just showed you how motivated they were to get a result here. 2 of them had been distanced after crashes, but with a former winner of Peter Mullins, a great podium finisher in Justine Barrow, they were really united in their purpose.
There's one thing about having the power of numbers. You've got to have the power to use the numbers to your advantage, and they did that. They weren't only great in number, they were great in their physical ability today and being able to mark all the important moves.
Yeah, they were excellent. They rode a brilliant race, flawless tactically, and they had the, as you mentioned before, they had the power to actually execute it. It was a huge result for Rock Salt Livstram. So they come away from these championships with a bronze medal in the criterium, a gold medal in the road race. That's a successful campaign.
And an under-23 gold medal.
Yeah.
And a QOM jersey.
And Peter Mullins spending some of the team budget on champagne.
And maybe showing Nicole how best to spray it.
Yeah, they're well worth following on social media. They do a great job of that, and they do a lot for the brands that are associated with them because they get some cut through.
Yeah, content creation is one of their specialties.
Yeah.
But they back it up. The performances are there to create the meaningful content. And I'm pretty sure within the week we'll see Nicole Frayne with the green and gold fingernails. I know she likes to do a bit of decorating depending on what jersey she's got on. So we'll see some variations of that throughout the year.
Great riding by Herfoss, number 53, looking very relaxed and happy with the impact that she made on the race. And that's all you can ask for, that what you do in the race has an impact on the outcome, benefits your teammates, and hopefully disadvantages the others.
Well, she did all three of those.
Tick, tick, tick.
Yeah, absolutely. That to-do list is done. She can enjoy the rest of the afternoon. It was a huge performance by Emily Herfoss. And I love seeing the smiles on the teammates basking in the glory of the entire group. Here's a look at some of the highlights of the day as we wrap up the women's road race. It was all rock salt Liv Schramm. They were in everything.
Yep. Yeah, just over the top of the climb. This is when Herfoss chose to attack, really maximised her confidence and her ability on the descent.
80 plus kilometres an hour in the aero tuck. She was then caught. There was Matilda Reynolds who closed down the gap, but then Emily Herfoss had her teammate Tilly Field. She was back up. She went off the front with Reynolds, and it was looking very much like these two were in line to fight it out for this national championship.
They were quite well matched. Matilda showing a lot of courage and aggression though on that final lap up the climb. This is the moment when Matilda Reynolds thought, no, I need to get away from Field, try and do everything I can with one climb to go.
Reynolds could see that chasing bunch coming at them. She thought, this is the moment, I've got to put everything or nothing on this and go. She got rid of Field, she went solo, but as they went further up the climb, the bunch was coming closer and closer. Reynolds, she'd been brave all day, but then the catch was made on the steepest part of the climb the very last time.
Barrow there doing the work in the middle of screen, and Frayne, the teammate, on her right-hand shoulder. So rock salt Liv Schramm really controlling this race.
And this was the moment later on in the final, coming through the grounds of Federation University. Nicole Frayne, she made the attack from the front. So it was not a surprise attack. She didn't just slip away from them. She powered away. She used her prowess through the corners to build that gap and held it all the way down to the finish line.
And then it was celebration time. Nicole Frayne going out the winner of the Elite Women's Road Race. Coming up next, we have Christophe Mallet and Kate Bates. Then we'll be back in action with the Elite Men's Road Race. Bye for now from Bunnington.